Chapter 2:12. Forget it. I won't think about it anymore. The secrets behind the galaxy teleporter are things that even I, who had attained the heavenly stage in my previous life, could not understand, much less now. There's no point in thinking about it now. Zhou Dongwang immediately stopped thinking about it. In my previous life, I had passed by this Honglong planet and was about to have a breakthrough in my training, so I stayed here for a while after hearing that it was a relic left behind by a Dharma Peak adept. I purposely came here. At that time, I was just an ordinary primal core adept, and I wanted to come here to see if there was a chance for me to take advantage of this opportunity. At that time, I was not the only one who wanted to take advantage of this opportunity. However, at that time, the Sky Sword sect had sealed off the entire mountain range of beasts, so I and the others had made a wasted trip. With the memories of his previous life, Zhou Dongwang had a certain level of understanding of the Honglong planet. There was a primordial soul adept on the Honglong planet, but he only had a few decades left to live. In his previous life, when Zhou Dongwang had arrived at the Honglong planet, he had heard that the primordial soul adept had already passed away a few decades ago. The Sky Sword sect was considered a rather powerful sect on the Great Dragon Planet. It was located in a remote area, and there was a Dharma Peak adept in the sect. However, there was only one Dharma Peak adept in the sect. Because of this, the Sky Sword sect valued the relic left behind by a Dharma Peak adept very much, and they did not even leave a chance for others to take advantage of this opportunity. I'm here. As he thought about it, Zhou Dongwang looked down and saw a vast mountain range in front of him. It was covered in greenery, and the mountain path was winding and winding. Zhou Dongwang did not discover anything after flying in a circle in the air. Without my divine will, there's no way to investigate the situation in the air. Zhou Dongwang shook his head and sighed as he descended. Divine will can only be formed after attaining the primordial soul stage. The current me is still a long way from being able to form my divine will. Zhou Dongwang, who had trained in the Lord of the Four Supremes, was still a long way from the Dharma stage, let alone the primordial soul stage, which was above the Dharma stage. If I can't find anything from the air, then I'll go in and investigate. Although it's a waste of time, it's better than being a headless fly. Zhou Dongwang passed through the shade of a forest and entered the side of the mountain range. He planned to search the entire mountain range in search of the relics left behind by the Dharma Peak adept. As soon as he landed, Zhou Dongwang felt the ground tremble slightly. Just as he turned around, he saw a giant wolf with a black mane that stood up like a hedgehog. It was running toward him from afar, and its bloodthirsty eyes were staring at him. Its mountain-like body was pressing toward him. The speed of the giant wolf was very fast, and the true chi under its feet was more than 10 feet. Khanate demon? With one look, Zhou Dongwang could tell that the wolf was a late-stage Khanate demon. In Zhou Dongwang's eyes, this type of demon was no different from an ant. Roar! The giant wolf did not realize the danger. Although it was intelligent, in its eyes, a human youth who looked to be in his 20s could not pose any threat to it. In the blink of an eye, the giant wolf was right in front of Zhou Dongwang. It pounced on him, its jaws wide open, saliva dripping from its fangs. It looked extremely ferocious. Whoosh! Zhou Dongwang did not move, but a silver inner yuan shot out from his body and formed a silver palm in the air, slamming down on the giant wolf's head. Bang! With a loud crash, the giant wolf's body stopped in its tracks, and it fell to the ground, no longer breathing. Its huge head had been flattened, and brain juices flowed all over the ground. After killing the giant wolf, Zhou Dongwang did not even look at it. Instead, he began to search the surroundings to see if the final resting place of the Dharma Peak adept was nearby. It's the Black Wolf King. Suddenly, a woman's scream came from behind, causing Zhou Dongwang to turn around to look. With just a glance, he saw a woman in green, who could barely be considered a beauty. She was dressed in neutral clothes, had delicate features, and carried a sheathed long sword on her back. In the blink of an eye, she came to the side of the giant wolf that he had killed. Behind the woman in green, there were 2 other young men. Regardless of whether it was the woman in green or the 2 young men, they looked to be about the same age, as Zhou Dongwang. It really is the Black Wolf King. The gray-clothed, ordinary-looking young man with a sheathed long sword at his waist came to the woman's side. He looked at the dead giant wolf and exclaimed, "Oh my God, what a strong force!" He directly smashed the Black Wolf King's head. The person who killed the Black Wolf King must have been an expert with his palms. "You killed the Black Wolf King." The last young man, who was dressed in green and had rather good looks and a soft sword at his waist, did not follow them to look at the dead giant wolf. Instead, he looked at Zhou Dongwang cautiously. Zhou Dongwang was standing nearby. Because the woman in green and the young man in gray were both focused on the corpse of the giant wolf, they did not notice him in time. Just then, hearing their companion's voice, the two of them turned to look at Zhou Dongwang, their eyes filled with shock and uncertainty. This handsome young man in white before them, who looked to be about the same age as them, was he really the one who killed the Black Wolf King? One had to know that the Black Wolf King was no ordinary late Khanate stage demon. Unless it was an extremely powerful late Khanate stage adept or an ultimate Khanate stage adept, there was no way that one person could kill it alone. Now, the corpse of the Black Wolf King was lying there and had not been taken care of. The young man in white was the only one nearby, and if he was not mistaken, he was the one who had killed the Black Wolf King. Zhou Dongwang nodded slightly in response. Then a thought occurred to him, and he asked, "Are you disciples of the Sky Sword Sect?" "Yes," the woman in green replied, and at the same time she asked, "Are you not?" "No." Zhou Dongwang shook his head. "Not?" The eyes of the woman in green narrowed as she was shocked. The young man in gray beside her was also shocked. The arrogant young man in green also frowned slightly at this moment. He had not expected that the young man who had killed the Black Wolf King was not a disciple of the Sky Sword Sect. The three of them were still thinking, could this young man in white also be a disciple of the Sky Sword Sect? This was because, in the surrounding area, besides the Sky Sword Sect, there were no other powerful sects or families. And in these sects and families, it was impossible for there to be such a young, late Khanate stage adept, let alone an ultimate Khanate stage adept. "Are you an ultimate Khanate stage adept?" the young man in green asked. This time, Zhou Dongwang did not speak. He only shook his head and then looked away. He continued to look around, searching for the place where the Dharma adept had died. "No." Seeing Zhou Dongwang shake his head, the three of them naturally thought that he was a late Khanate stage adept and one of the best of the best. Only a late Khanate stage adept would have the ability to kill the Black Wolf King alone. "My friend." At this time, the young man in gray looked at Zhou Dongwang with a smile and said politely, "The Black Wolf King that you killed was also one of our targets this time. We want its fangs and heart. Would you be willing to part with it? Give me a price." The young man in green looked at Zhou Dongwang condescendingly and said casually. When Zhou Dongwang shook his head and denied that he was an ultimate Khanate stage adept, the young man in green looked at Zhou Dongwang differently. At first, it was fear, but now it was disdain. Zhou Dongwang ignored the young man in green and looked at the polite young man in gray. He said, "I did not intend to take anything from the wolf. You can have it if you want." "You did not intend to take it?" The young man in green looked even more disdainful. The late Khanate stage Black Wolf King's entire body was a treasure. Even an ultimate Khanate stage adept like him would have dissected it and taken away the valuable parts. This young man in white was just a mid-Khanate stage adept, and yet he dared to say that he did not intend to take anything from the Black Wolf King? What a joke. "My friend, we cannot accept a reward without doing anything. Just as the young man in gray was taken aback and was about to speak again, he was interrupted by the sound of running footsteps, and the ground began to shake. In a moment, 5 wolves that looked exactly the same as the one lying dead on the ground appeared in front of Zhou Dongwang and the others. They lined up in a row and glared at Zhou Dongwang and the others. Occasionally, when they looked at the giant wolf that had been killed by Zhou Dongwang, their eyes were filled with anger and violence, and the black mane on their bodies stood on end. "Ha! I did not expect our luck to be so good. Another 5 Black Wolf Kings have appeared. All right, we do not need to buy the things that we want from him, We can just take them ourselves." The young man in green laughed. 5 black wolf kings. The lady in green stared at the 5 wolves with fear in her eyes. "Zhao Si, if Xie and I join forces, we can at most deal with 1 black wolf king. Are you confident?" She and the young man in gray had just entered the late Khanate stage not long ago, and their abilities were only average among the late Khanate stage adepts. They would not be a match for a single black wolf king. "Rilon, don't worry, this is a piece of cake." The young man in green, Zhao Si, smiled confidently. "You and Xie will join forces to restrain 1 of the black wolf kings, and then let that young man who is not too bad take care of the other 2. Within 20 breaths, I will definitely kill the other 2 black wolf kings, and then we will take care of the rest." As he spoke, Zhao Si looked at the young man in white, who was still looking around, and said firmly, "Young man, if you do not want to die, then do as I say." End of this chapter. Chapter 213. Ignorant kid, did you hear what I said? Are you deaf? Seeing that Zhou Dongwang was still walking and looking around, Zhao Si's face darkened. Oh, whoa. Perhaps they were annoyed by Zhao Si's incessant yelling. So the 5 black wolf kings howled at the sky and pounced toward Zhao Si. In the blink of an eye, they had surrounded Zhao Si. Damn it! The sudden scene before him caused Zhao Si, who had just recovered from a shock, to have a drastic change in his expression. Because Zhao Si's attention had been on Zhou Donghuang, he had not had time to react to the 5 black wolf kings surrounding him. Otherwise, with his Khanate stage cultivation level, he would have been able to ensure that he would not be surrounded by the 5 black wolf kings. The 5 black wolf kings glared at Zhao Si with their bloodthirsty eyes, causing Zhao Si's hair to stand on end and his entire body to shiver. Although he was in Khanate stage adept, he had only broken through recently. 1 black wolf king, he could easily kill it. 2 black wolf kings, he could barely handle it. 3 black wolf kings, life and death. 4 black wolf kings, life and death. 5 black wolf kings, death and death. Kid, if we die, you will die too. I advise you not to take any chances. Zhao Si looked at the 5 black wolf kings warily as he looked at the young man in white. His tone had softened, but it was still arrogant. Almost as soon as Zhao Si's voice fell. Roar, roar, the 5 black wolf kings moved at the same time, like 5 bolts of lightning, pouncing towards Zhao Si from all directions. Their jaws were wide open, and their fangs glinted with a cold light. Zhao Si, the gray-robed young man, Xie Yu's expression changed. His body floated forward like a willow catkin as he unsheathed his long sword. A 10-feet-long sword light whizzed out and pierced towards 1 of the black wolf kings. This caused the black wolf king to abandon Zhao Si and turn around to slap the sword away. Who? The lady in green followed suit, unsheathing the long sword on her back. Similarly, a ray of green light flashed out and fought alongside Xie Yu. They barely managed to fend off the black wolf king, who had turned around to pounce on them. However, even though the 2 of them were working together, it was still a little taxing for them to deal with the black wolf king. On the other side, Zhao Si, who was surrounded by the 4 black wolf kings, was in an even more pathetic state. He could only rely on his speed to dodge the attacks of the 4 black wolf kings. Although the Xiantian Qi of the 4 black wolf kings was only about 10 feet long, it was extremely condensed. On the other hand, Zhao Si's Xiantian innate Qi was 30 feet long, but it was extremely scattered, giving off a feeling of powerlessness. Friend, make your move. After realizing that Zhao Si was in danger, Xie Yu smiled bitterly as he joined forces with the lady beside him to deal with the Black Wolf King. Zhao Si's temper is not very good, but given the current situation, if you don't act now and Zhao Si dies, we will all be wiped out. Friend, I apologize on behalf of Zhao Si. Whether it was Xie Yu or the woman beside Xie Yu, it wasn't hard to see that the white-clothed young man didn't pay any attention to Zhao Si from beginning to end. Even though they had known Zhao Si for a few years, they could not stand Zhao Si's arrogance. What were the others? Just now, Zhao Si's tone had been filled with disdain. Anyone who was not deaf could hear it. If they were the young man in white, they would also be displeased. Indeed, Zhou Dongwang did not have a good impression of Zhao Si. However, he had a good impression of the other two. Therefore, when he heard the two of them speak, Zhou Dongwang stopped looking around and turned around to look at the pathetic state of the battle. More accurately, he was looking at the pathetic state of the Sky Sword sect, disciple named Zhao Si. The other two were still doing well. They had joined forces to fight the Black Wolf King and were evenly matched. Just as Zhou Dongwang was activating the Silver Core Inner Yuan in his elixir field and preparing to kill the Black Wolf Kings. "Why are you begging him?" Zhao Si shouted, and his tone was filled with rage. "If we die, he will die as well. If he doesn't do anything, then he can only wait for death. However, I've changed my mind. Even if he has to die in front of us." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Si's eyes were filled with violence. With a sweep of the sword in his hand, the four Black Wolf Kings stopped in their tracks. Then, the chi beneath his feet surged. He no longer cared about the problem of using his chi to escape the encirclement of the four Black Wolf Kings and pounced towards Zhou Donghuang like a bolt of lightning. The four Black Wolf Kings gave chase. "Die, punk!" Zhao Si's eyes were filled with madness. Now, he seemed to have lost all sense of reason. Even if he had to die, he would drag the person in front of him down with him. Swoosh! The sword in Zhao Si's hand straightened like a poisonous snake as it sliced through the air. Then, Zhou Dongwang bit down, aiming for the throat. "Zhao Si, you're crazy." "Stop." Zhao Si's two companions saw this, and their expressions changed. They hurriedly tried to stop Zhao Si. However, was Zhao Si really crazy? Of course not. The qi in his body had been greatly depleted just now, and Zhao Si had realized that even if the young man in white managed to hold back two of the Black Wolf Kings, he would not be able to kill the other two and would not be able to escape. As such, he decided to use all his qi in a short period of time to divert the attention of the four Black Wolf Kings to the young man in white. Then, he would make use of this opportunity to escape. Of course, by doing this, he would be abandoning his two companions. Fleeing on our own in the face of danger? Zhou Dongwang stood rooted to the ground, not moving an inch. He watched as Zhao Si sheathed his sword at the critical moment and brushed past him without attacking him. "Punk, although I want to kill you, in order for me to escape, you should leave your life to the four Black Wolf Kings." "Ha ha ha!" As he brushed past Zhou Dongwang, Zhao Si laughed heartily. It was as if he was certain that the four Black Wolf Kings would kill Zhou Dongwang and give him time to escape. At this time, the two companions who were courting death also realized that Zhao Si was planning to abandon them and escape alone. Their expressions changed drastically. Zhao Si had escaped, and the young man in white was dead. They were destined to die. However, in the next moment they were stunned. Heavens! What had they just seen? Was this real? Were they dreaming? Under the shocked gazes of the two of them, the white-robed young man who had led the four Black Wolf Kings to charge at Zhao Si had, at the most crucial moment, leaped into the air like a celestial being, causing the four Black Wolf Kings to miss their target. After the four Black Wolf Kings missed their target, they continued to chase after Zhao Si. As Zhao Si's qi became weaker and weaker, the distance between them and Zhao Si continued to close. From the looks of it, they would catch up to Zhao Si in a few breaths' time. Not good. The two of them had been distracted by the young man in white's ability to rise into the air. When they regained their composure, they realized that the Black Wolf King had taken the opportunity to attack them. Now, it was too late for them to defend themselves. Bang! Just as the two of them thought that they were going to die, a silvery palm print descended from the sky and pressed the Black Wolf King into the ground. The Black Wolf King had died in front of them in the blink of an eye. The way he had died was exactly the same as the previous Black Wolf King. Silver Essence Adept. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief, but at the same time, their hearts trembled. They had never imagined that the young man in white, who looked about the same age as them, was actually a Silver Essence Adept. Even in the Sky Sword sect, the most outstanding disciple of the Sky Sword sect, who was about the same age as them, was only at the early stage of the Primal Core stage. What's going on? On the other side, Zhao Si, who had thought that he had used the young man in white as bait to escape the four Black Wolf Kings, suddenly realized that the footsteps behind him were getting closer and closer. In a hurry, he turned his head and saw the white-robed young man standing in the air. Primal core adept. Zhao Ci's expression changed as he lost his footing and fell to the ground. In the next moment, the 4 black wolf kings leapt towards him. Save me! Save me! In his despair, Zhao Ci looked at the young man in white standing in the air and begged for his help. In his opinion, as long as this primal core adept intervened, he would definitely be able to survive. Those who are unjust are doomed to die. Zhou Dongwang only glanced at Zhao Ci lightly and left him with these words before returning to his original spot in the air. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Ci had been torn to shreds by the 4 black wolf kings. After killing their prey, the 4 black wolf kings turned their heads to look at Zhou Dongwang. Now that they had developed intelligence, a look of fear flashed across their blood-red eyes, and they fled into the forest in the distance. Everything had been settled. Thank you, my lord, for saving our lives. At the same time, the remaining 2 disciples of the Sky Sword sect bowed to Zhou Donghuang in gratitude, their eyes filled with respect. Zhou Donghuang nodded at the 2 of them and left the area. He had looked carefully at the area and had not found any clues as to where the Dharma adept had died. Now it was time to change locations. After watching Zhou Donghuang's silhouette disappear from their sight, the 2 disciples of the Sky Sword sect regained their senses and looked at the place where their comrade, Zhao Ci, had died. Their eyes were filled with anger. Who would have thought that Zhao Ci would abandon us and escape on his own? He deserved to die. Regarding Zhao Ci's death, the 2 of them did not feel any pity, because Zhao Ci's actions had already chilled them to the core. However, Zhao Ci's father is still the 4th elder. We still need to find an excuse so that 4th elder does not know that Zhao Ci died in front of us. That's right. Our abilities are not as good as Zhao Ci's, but we survived. 4th elder is so protective and vengeful that he will not let us off easily. Into this chapter, Chapter 214. After parting ways with the 2 disciples of the Sky Sword sect, Zhou Dongwang began to patiently search the entire mountain range for the burial place of the Dharma adept he was looking for. 1 day passed, and there was no result. 2 days passed, and there was still no result. After spending a full 5 days, Zhou Dongwang finally found the suspected burial place of the Dharma adept. Of course, before it was completely confirmed, it could only be said to be suspected, because it was too well hidden. It's too well hidden. If not for the fact that these 2 beasts were fighting and bumped into the brambles here, I would not have found this place. Zhou Dongwang looked at the mountain wall that had cracked open after he had cut down the brambles. Through the crack in the mountain wall, he could see a dark cave passage. Beside Zhou Dongwang, 2 huge creatures lay there, completely lifeless. They were the 2 Khanate beasts that had been fighting. After Zhou Dongwang appeared, they both stopped fighting and turned to attack Zhou Dongwang. In the end, they died at Zhou Donghuang's hands. These few days, I've been to this place at least 3 times. The first 2 times, I didn't find it. After shaking his head and sighing, Zhou Dongwang lifted his hand and a bright silver palm shot out. With a bang, the crack in the wall was blasted open. A cave passage that could fit an adult man appeared in front of Zhou Dongwang. If there are no accidents, it should be inside. After Zhou Dongwang entered the cave passage, there was no obstruction. Finally, he entered a dark cave. As Zhou Donghuang's inner yuan condensed into the samadhi fire, the cave immediately lit up. The cave was not spacious, and could even be said to be simple. In the middle of the cave, a person sat cross-legged. He was now a skeleton, and his robes were tattered and old. On his left hand's middle finger, there was a space ring. Other than that, there was nothing else. Thank you. Zhou Dongwang bowed to the skeleton. After the ceremony, he took the space ring from the skeleton's left hand and searched the surroundings. After confirming that there was nothing else of value, he left. From now on, no one will disturb your peace. After exiting the cave, Zhou Dongwang casually struck out a few times, causing the cave passageway to collapse. Then, he dealt with the mountain walls and thorns at the entrance of the cave. After confirming that nothing was out of place, he stepped into the air and left. This spatial ring is actually a supreme grade spatial ring. Zhou Donghuang instinctively wanted to see what was inside the space ring, but there was no reaction. It was only when he pinched his finger and dripped a drop of blood on it that the space ring reacted. Only top-grade spatial rings could be used by blood binding. Moreover, a top-grade spatial ring had a space of at least 3 square feet, and the largest could even reach a square foot of 10 square feet. 10 square feet, converted to modern Earth units, was about 30 meters. Now, the ultimate space ring in Zhou Donghuang's hand was a cube with a length, width, and height of more than 20 meters. It could be considered a mid-level top-grade spatial ring. Moreover, there was another benefit of a superb space ring. Even if it was taken away, as long as you were still alive and you hadn't removed the ownership, no one would be able to take out the items inside. Let's see what's here. Zhou Donghuang began to look at the items inside the space ring that the Dharma Adept had left behind. The first thing he saw was a letter. Because time in the space ring was still, this letter was still as new as ever. On the envelope, the words for the lucky one were written in large letters, and the signature was M.O. Qian. Obviously, the Dharma Peak Adept who had left this space ring behind was called M.O. Qian. I hope it's just a bunch of nonsense. As he took out the letter from the envelope, Zhou Donghuang frowned slightly. If he had a choice, he really didn't want to open this letter. Usually, he preferred those that left behind various tests, because to a certain extent, that was considered as a reward for his hard work. Moreover, the person who left behind these kinds of miraculous encounters would not leave behind any difficult questions after you had passed all the tests and obtained the items inside. Even if they left behind difficult questions, you could completely ignore them. I only obtained the items you left behind after passing the tests you left behind. After passing the tests, you still want to give me difficult questions? That's not very kind of you. However, if there were no tests left behind, and it was purely a free miraculous encounter, and the person who left behind the miraculous encounter had left behind some last words for you to do something for him, for someone who valued favors, you would have to do your best to help him complete the task. This was a form of karma, and Zhou Donghuang belonged to the type of person who valued favors. Indeed, after opening the letter and reading it for a while, Zhou Donghuang shook his head and sighed. These old fogies, they're really bad. Let's see what he left behind first. If it's not enough to move me, or if I think it's not worth it, I'll at most return the space ring along with the items inside to him. He had no choice. He had to be soft-hearted after receiving favors from others. If he was an ungrateful person, even if he had read the instructions in the letter, he could have completely ignored it, and it would not have affected him in any way. But for someone like Zhou Donghuang, this was a form of karma that he had no choice but to accept. Unless he did not accept this karma, once he accepted it, he had to see it through to the end. Otherwise, when he went through the deity's tribulation to ascend to the divine realm in the future, it would become a terrifying tribulation of his inner demons. 2 ultimate Dharma spirit weapons, hundreds of thousands of mid-level spirit stones, and many core medicines. This is the core king fruit. If Zhou Donghuang had been able to remain calm at the start, when he saw the giant golden spirit fruit in the space ring, he could not help but lose his composure. The core king fruit was a spirit fruit that could only be consumed by primal core adepts. Even if an adept who had just entered the late primal core stage were to consume it, he would be able to enter the ultimate primal core stage within a few days. Of course, for a spirit fruit like the core king fruit, any primal core adept would only be able to see its effects the first time they consumed it. This is really tempting. As long as I consume this core king fruit, one of my remaining 2 silver essences within a few days, it will transform into a golden essence. It had to be said that Zhou Donghuang was a little tempted. At this time, Zhou Donghuang had basically looked through everything in the space ring. Just as he was about to retract his thoughts, he realized that in the corner of the space ring, there was something that looked like a dried tree branch. It looked very inconspicuous, and it was no wonder that it had been tossed in the corner. However, when Zhou Donghuang saw it, his eyes suddenly narrowed, and he could not wait to take it out. The dry tree branch was about 4 feet long, and the patterns on it were very strange. It looked like scales had grown on it, and it was completely grayish-brown in color. It really is this. At this moment, Zhou Donghuang's breathing quickened. Because of his excitement, his chest rose and fell like a bellows being pulled. Soul Shaper. It's actually Soul Shaper, and it's a complete Soul Shaper. My God, even in the boundless universe, this is something that can be called a supreme treasure. If the Soul Shaper were to appear, it would be enough for the top warriors of the great clans and supreme sects to compete for it. Even at the peak of my previous life, as long as there was a glimmer of hope for it, I would fight for it. If I had this Soul Shaper in my previous life, why would I need to worry about the inner demons of the deity's tribulation? If I had this Soul Shaper, I would have long entered the deity's tribulation stage, defeated the deity's tribulation, and ascended to the divine realm. The Soul Shaper could be refined by adepts of the Dharma Laws stage and above. Once Dharma Laws adepts refined the Soul Shaper, they would be able to condense their divine will in advance. Once this divine will was released, it would be invincible against anyone below the primordial soul stage. After refining a complete Soul Shaper and entering the primordial soul stage, the divine will condensed from the primordial soul stage would not be stronger than that of ordinary primordial soul adepts of the same level, but the strength of the primordial soul would be greatly increased, and they would be able to ignore all primordial soul attacks of primordial soul adepts. After entering the divine transformation stage, they would also be able to ignore all divine will attacks of divine transformation adepts. Later, it would still be the same. When they entered the highest stage in the universe, the deity's tribulation stage, their primordial soul would be even more frightening, and they would be able to ignore the inner demons of the deity's tribulation. A complete Soul Shaper. In this boundless universe, if someone took out the Soul Shaper to auction. In my previous life, when I was at my peak, all the wealth I had combined would probably not even be able to bid for a tenth of the complete Soul Shaper. Zhou Donghuang sighed as he carefully placed the Soul Shaper back into his space ring. That Dharma adept probably did not recognize that it was the Soul Shaper. Perhaps he did not even know of the existence of the Soul Shaper. The Soul Shaper, because of its nature-defying effects, was also known as the Divine Soul Shaper by the thousands of races in the universe. Looks like I will not be able to avoid this karma. Zhou Donghuang looked at the letter in his hand and sighed. In the letter, the Dharma adept, named M.O. Gon, asked the person who obtained the item he had left behind to try his best to avenge him. His enemy, before he reached the end of his life, was a primordial soul adept. Furthermore, he was a primordial soul adept who had possessed the body of someone else. And the person who had been possessed was M.O. Gon's only kin, his adopted son. Because of this, he and that person became enemies. To avenge the death of his son, Hunglio Galaxy, the great desolate planet, the burning sect, Gong Sunling. I'll remember this. He even listed many of the evil deeds that Gong Sunling had done. Is he worried that the person who obtained the item you left behind would be a gentleman who would only help you kill evil people and not good people? That's quite thorough thinking. Primordial soul adepts had one chance in their lifetime to be reborn. They could use it during normal times, and they could also use it when their life was about to end. However, once the possession was successful, they would be stuck at the primordial soul stage for the rest of their lives, and there would be no possibility of breaking through. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, no one would easily possess the body of another. End of this chapter. Chapter 215. Gong Sunling, primordial soul adept, once possessed another person's body. In this life, he is destined to be stuck at the primordial soul stage, with no hope of entering the divine transformation stage. When I enter the primordial soul stage, I will avenge you and end the karma between us. Zhou Donghuang looked at the letter in his hands. Suddenly, the inner yuan in his hands ignited with samadhi fire, burning the letter to ashes. Actually, with a treasure like the Soul Shaper, when Zhou Donghuang entered the deity's tribulation stage, he would be able to ignore the scariest part of the deity's tribulation, the demons of the heart. Even if he did not resolve the karma between him and the Dharma adept, it would not affect his future deity's tribulation. However, although it would not affect his deity's tribulation, he did not intend to ignore this karma. This was because he was the type of person who would repay kindness with kindness. Furthermore, the favor he had received this time was a complete soul shaper. This was something he had dreamed of in his previous life. In the boundless universe, a complete soul shaper was known as the pass to the divine realm. Anyone who refined a complete soul shaper would be able to ignore the scariest part of the deity's tribulation, the demons of the heart, before ascending to the divine realm. I'll leave this great dragon planet after I've digested the medicinal power of the pill king fruit and head to the next stop. However, in my memory, there are only a few places that are suitable for me to have a fortuitous encounter at this time. Next, Zhou Dongwang stayed on the Honglong planet for a few more days. After he had digested the power of the core king fruit, one of the two remaining silver essences in his elixir field had successfully transformed into a golden essence. Now, there was only one silver essence and 3 golden essences left in Zhou Donghuang's elixir field. Now, as long as he was not surrounded by a group of golden essence adepts armed with ultimate spirit weapons, as long as there was enough space for him to use his techniques, he would be able to defeat anyone below the Dharma stage, even without a spirit weapon. Time to go. The nearest galaxy teleporter was the one near the Sky Sword Sect. Zhou Dongwang used this teleporter to leave the Honglong planet in the Tianma galaxy. After leaving this time, he might never set foot in the Heavenly Horse Galaxy again in his life. How vast was the boundless universe? The Sky Horse Star region was just a small star region in the universe. Many large star regions were as big as the Sky Horse Star region. 1 month later, Luoha Galaxy, Tianxin planet. Who? A figure dressed in snow-white robes appeared out of thin air in one of the galaxy teleportation formations on the Tianxin planet. Following which, he lazily raised his head and glanced at the stone pillar on the side of the stone platform. There were 3 lines of words on the stone pillar. Luoha Galaxy, planet Tianxian, Yunka City. After looking away from a stone pillar, Zhou Dongwang looked around. On one side was a mountain range, on the other was a lush forest, on the other was a vast grassland, and on the other side was a city on a plain. This city should be Yunka City. Zhou Donghuang's heart thumped. In the past month, Zhou Dongwang had been to all the places he needed to visit and had successfully obtained what he needed. Now, he had come to the Tianxin planet in the Luoha Galaxy for Luo Qinghan. Luo Qinghan was the woman he had spent a night with in the lost forest of the Yunyang country of the Ziyun planet. Because they had consummated their marriage, and because it was her first time, he saw Luo Qinghan as his woman. Therefore, he had come to find her. I wonder if this Tianxin planet is the Tianxin planet that she is from. Zhou Dongwang thought to himself. In the past, when he and Luo Qinghan had enjoyed sex together, she had told him that she was from the Luo family of the Tianxin planet. Zhou Dongwang did not know which galaxy the Tianxin planet was in. The reason why he had come to the Luoha Galaxy was because he had heard that there was a Tianxin planet there. Who? Just as Zhou Dongwang was about to leave the stone platform where the galaxy teleportation formation was and head to Yunka City to gather information, another person appeared on the teleportation formation beside him. It was a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s. He was dressed lavishly and had a mustache above his upper lip. His eyes shone with shrewdness. Brother, you are already a primal core adept at such a young age? The middle-aged man looked at Zhou Dongwang, and his face was full of surprise. After all, only adepts of the primal core stage and above could use the galaxy teleportation formation to travel between galaxies and planets. Zhou Dongwang nodded. Without waiting for the middle-aged man to speak, he asked, "Is there a Luo family on the Tianxin planet?" "Looks like you are from the outside." The middle-aged man smiled. There is indeed a Luo family on the Tianxin planet. Furthermore, the Luo family is considered one of the top families in the entire Tianxin planet. Their strength is second only to the strongest sections. Zhou Dongwang's eyes lit up. Looks like I have found the right place. Where's the Luo family? Zhou Dongwang asked again. Brother, I can tell you where the Luo family is, but even if I tell you the location, I am afraid you will not be able to find it." The middle-aged man shook his head. "And I do not have a map of the Tianxin planet. In my opinion, you should go to Yunka City and buy a map, then bring it to the Luo family." "Thank you." Zhou Dongwang nodded and thanked him. In a flash, he rose into the air and headed in the direction of Yunka City. Although the middle-aged man already knew that Zhou Dongwang was a primal core adept, now that he saw the silver inner yuan surrounding Zhou Dongwang, his eyes narrowed. Silver essence adept? Just now. Although he knew that this young man in white, who looked to be in his 20s, was a primal core adept, he had only thought that he was an early primal core adept. He had never imagined that this young man would be a late primal core adept, a silver essence adept. "Brother, wait. I'm going to Yunka City too." The middle-aged man called out to Zhou Dongwang and rose into the air as well. His body was also surrounded by silver inner yuan, and as Zhou Dongwang slowed down, he caught up with him. "Brother, my name is Chen Outyin. What is your name?" The middle-aged man asked with a smile, becoming much more friendly. After all, a 20-year-old golden essence adept usually had a powerful force behind him, and this 20-year-old golden essence adept had a high status in that force. There was no harm in making friends with such a person. "Zhou Dongwang," Zhou Dongwang responded, but his eyes were still on Yunka City, which was getting closer and closer. "Brother Dongwang, where are you from? I see that you look to be in your 20s, but you're already a silver essence adept. This is really surprising." Chen Outyin asked curiously. "Even if I told you, you wouldn't know," Zhou Dongwang said lightly. Chen Outyin's expression froze as he realized that Zhou Dongwang did not want to talk about it, so he did not pursue the matter further. Instead, he asked another question. "Brother, you're going to the Luo family. Do you know anyone there?" "Yes." Zhou Dongwang nodded and turned to look at Chen Outyin. "Do you know of Luo Qinghan in the Luo family?" "Of course I do." Chen Outyin nodded, and his eyes lit up as he said, "She is the daughter of the Luo family, the youngest primal core adept in the history of the Luo family. Before I left the Tianxin planet a few years ago, she was already a primal core adept at that time. She had just turned 20. Moreover, it is said that she is recognized by many as the most beautiful woman on the Tianxin planet." Chen Outyin said. Zhou Donghuang's lips curled into a rare smile. It seemed that his luck was not bad. The Tianxin planet in Aloha Galaxy was the planet where Luo Qinghan was from. "Brother, do you know the daughter of the Luo family?" Chen Outyin asked, his eyes shining. Zhou Donghuang's reply shocked Chen Outyin. "She is my woman." These were Zhou Donghuang's exact words. After a while, Chen Outyin regained his composure, and without any warning, his eyes revealed an indescribable excitement. After a while, the excitement subsided. Chen Outyin looked at the city in front of him and smiled at Zhou Dongwang. "Brother Dongwang, we're almost at Yunka City. Do you want me to bring you to buy a map?" Chen Outyin was very enthusiastic. "Bring me to a shop. I can buy it myself," Zhou Dongwang said. Chen Outyin nodded. "All right," Chen Outyin agreed, and after entering Yunka City with Zhou Dongwang, he brought Zhou Dongwang to an independent multi-story shop in the city. "Brother Dongwang, this is the 1,000 Treasures Pagoda under the Huayu sect of the Tianxin planet. It sells everything, including a map of the Tianxin planet. If you have any other needs, you could take a look inside." Chen Outyin smiled. "I'll take you here. Thank you." Zhou Dongwang thanked him and took out 10 mid-quality spirit stones. "This is my repayment." Seeing Zhou Dongwang take out the mid-quality spirit stones, Chen Outyin's eyes lit up, but his face was stern. "Brother Dongwang, you're going too far. I treat you as a friend, but what do you take me for?" With that, Chen Outyin turned around and left without looking back. Zhou Dongwang looked at Chen Outyin's back, and then walked into the 1,000 Treasures Pagoda. Inside the 1,000 Treasures Pagoda, a young lady who acted as a shop assistant quickly came to greet him. "Sir, what do you need?" "I want to buy a detail map of the Tianxin planet," Zhou Dongwang said. "Also, I want to buy some herbs and a good elixir furnace. You could bring me to see the best elixir furnace you have here." Now that Zhou Dongwang had an ultimate primal core spirit weapon and a few other ultimate Dharma spirit weapons for him to use after he entered the Dharma stage, he did not need to specially buy metal, ores, and other materials for forging weapons. Of course, if he could find a rare treasure, he would definitely not miss it. An hour later, Zhou Dongwang bought what he wanted and left the Thousand Treasures Pagoda under the enthusiastic gaze of the shop assistant. He had spent tens of thousands of mid-quality spirit stones in one go. It was rare to see such a big client. Chapter 216. The Luo Family. After leaving the tower, Zhou Dongwang unfurled the map in his hands and looked at the approximate location of the Luo family. It was quite a distance from Yunka City, where he was now. In addition, there was a galaxy teleporter near the Luo family with the coordinates Tianshui Empire. From a galaxy teleporter in Yunka City directly to the Tianshui Empire, then to the Luo family. This way, I can reach the Luo family as soon as possible. Zhou Dongwang's heart skipped a beat, and he had a plan. As he flew out of Yunka City, the originally calm Zhou Dongwang's eyebrows twitched imperceptibly before he calmed down. After leaving Yunka City, Zhou Dongwang flew towards the galaxy teleporter with the coordinates Yunka City. When he first came to the Tianxin planet, he did not know the coordinates of the galaxy teleporters, so when he was teleporting, he only recited the first coordinate, the Loha Galaxy, and the second coordinate, the Tianxin planet. He did not recite the third coordinate. In such a situation, the galaxy teleporter would normally randomly teleport him to one of the galaxy teleporters on the Tianxin planet in the Loha Galaxy. Zhou Dongwang was randomly sent to the galaxy teleporter near Yunka City. He had just flown half the distance when he stopped in his tracks. At the same time, two swift figures flew over from behind him. In the blink of an eye, they blocked his path. "Brother Dongwang, we meet again." One of the two people blocking Zhou Dongwang's way was the well-dressed middle-aged man, Chun Aoyan, who had enthusiastically helped Zhou Dongwang lead the way to Yunka City's Thousand Treasure Tower. At that time, Chun Aoyan had sent Zhou Dongwang to Thousand Treasure Tower, and Zhou Dongwang had prepared to give him 10 mid-quality spirit stones to thank him for leading the way, but he had rejected it. As for the other person, he was a tall and burly old man in blue. His features bore some resemblance to Chun Aoyan's, and he was now looking at Zhou Dongwang with a burning desire, his eyes filled with a strong sense of greed. This old man's body was surrounded by a golden halo. It was golden inner yuan, and it was obvious that he was an ultimate primal core adept, a golden essence adept. Zhou Dongwang nodded lightly, his expression still calm, without the slightest change. "Brother Dongwang, I am sorry." Chen Aoyan stuck out his tongue and licked his dry lips. His eyes were filled with unparalleled greed. "If there is an afterlife, remember not to go out alone. Even if you go out alone, it's best not to reveal your wealth." Chen Aoyan's words exposed his motive for blocking the road. He wanted to kill them and rob them of their wealth. He was only about 20 years old, but he was already at the late primal core stage. It was highly likely that he was backed by a powerful force that even had primordial soul adepts. This kind of existence must have a shocking amount of wealth in his hands. Even an average Dharma adept might not be as rich as him. The temptation of such wealth was too great. He couldn't resist it. Chun Aoyan had no intention of letting this white-robed young man live, considering that there might be a powerful force behind this white-robed young man. He had to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Otherwise, it might leave behind a hidden danger that would consign him to eternal damnation. No wonder you didn't want the spirit stones I gave you at the entrance of the Myriad Treasure Tower an hour ago. It turns out that you think it's too little. Zhou Dongwang had a sudden realization. "Tian, why are you wasting your breath on him?" He was afraid that something bad might happen. "I'll kill him now and take his space ring." The eyes of the old man in blue suddenly shone with a feverish light. The golden inner yuan on his body surged, and a cold, narrow knife appeared in his hand. As soon as the narrow knife appeared, his inner yuan poured into it, and his aura doubled. An ultimate primal core spirit weapon? Zhou Dongwang raised his eyebrows. "Die!" the old man roared. and his body flew through the air like a golden fireball. With a golden flame wrapped around the knife, he rushed towards Zhou Dongwang. Even though the old man could tell from the silver inner yuan surrounding the young man in front of him that he was only a silver essence adept, he had no intention of being careless now. Even a lion would use all its strength to fight a rabbit. He would not easily make a mistake because of his own carelessness. Therefore, even though his opponent was only a silver essence adept, he still did not hold back and attacked with all his might, intending to kill him in one blow. I wonder how much wealth he has on him. Chen Aoyan stood in the air, watching over Zhou Dongwang. His eyes were filled with cruelty, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a brilliant smile. However, in the next moment, his smile completely froze. His eyes widened, as if he had seen something unbelievable. How is this possible? Just a moment ago, Chen Aoyan had been waiting for the scene of the young man being killed by his father, but in the next moment he saw a scene that made his heart almost stop beating. The young man in a snow-white robe stood rooted to the ground, unmoving like a mountain. At this moment, the silver inner yuan surrounding the young man had disappeared, and in its place was a vast expanse of golden inner yuan. From afar, it looked like a golden flame was burning fiercely. His right hand stretched out horizontally, and like a pincer, he grabbed the spirit knife that was slashing towards him. In front of him, an ultimate primal core spirit weapon that a golden essence adept used with all his might was like a child wielding a sword. It posed no threat at all. Isn't he a silver essence adept? How could he be a golden essence adept? What's going on? Impossible. That's impossible. Also, even if he is a golden essence adept, how could he take on my father's ultimate primal core spirit weapon with his bare hands? Now, the power of the inner yuan on the ultimate primal core spirit weapon has doubled. What's going on? Could it be that father did not use his full strength? That's not right. It's not like father has never killed other silver essence adepts before. Even when facing silver essence adepts, he used his full strength to kill them in seconds. Chen Aoyan's expression changed drastically, and his heart spasmed and trembled as countless thoughts ran through his mind. He could not understand what was happening in front of him. Whoosh, whoosh. Two sounds came from afar, and Chen Aoyan was so shocked that his eyes almost popped out of his sockets. The golden inner yuan in Zhou Donghuang's right hand exploded, and he immediately snatched the ultimate primal core spirit weapon from the old man's hand. Then, he sent the old man's head flying into the sky. Fresh blood floated in the air like red roses blooming, dazzling to the eyes. The old man's head flew through the air for a distance before it fell to the ground. His blood-stained face was filled with terror and shock. His eyes were wide open and filled with disbelief. Perhaps, until the moment before his death, the old man still could not understand. How could a silver essence adept suddenly have the inner yuan of a golden essence adept? Also, how could that inner yuan easily crush his own inner yuan, which had been doubled by the ultimate primal core spirit weapon? Father. The scene before him caused Chen Aoyan to show a look of pain and regret. He regretted provoking the young man before him, or else his father would not have died. Whoosh! As if a gust of wind had blown past, the old man was killed. After taking the old man's space ring, Zhou Dongwang seemed to transform into a golden bolt of lightning and appeared in front of Chen Aoyan in the blink of an eye. A light breeze caressed his face, and Chen Aoyan shivered. When he regained his senses, he looked at the expressionless young man in front of him and immediately knelt down. Brother Dongwang, I was wrong. I was wrong. Please be magnanimous and let me go. Please let me go. Chen Aoyan panicked, completely panicked. His martial arts talent was stronger than his father's, and he would definitely enter the Dharma stage in 100 years. By then, he would be able to live to 600 years old, but now he was not even 100 years old. He still had more than 500 years to live, and he did not want to die here. However, what he got in response was a casual palm strike from Zhou Dongwang. Bang! The golden palm strike was like a mountain, and Chun Out-yin did not even have a chance to react before his entire body was crushed into a pool of blood by the terrifying force of the palm strike. Only a space ring was left, and it fell from the sky and was collected by Zhou Dongwang. From beginning to end, Zhou Dongwang looked at the scene before him with an indifferent expression. In 1,000 years of his previous life, he had seen too many similar scenes. One wrong step, and there would be no hope of redemption. A martial arts practice would disappear with the death of a martial artist. Whoosh! After killing the two, Zhou Dongwang used the golden inner yuan that he did not have time to retract to hurry on his way. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the Galaxy Teleporter. Then, through the Galaxy Teleporter, he was transported to the Tianshui Empire, which was near the Luo family. The Galaxy Teleporter of the Tianshui Empire was located outside the capital. Zhou Dongwang had just landed when he looked at the map again, and then he flew in the opposite direction of the capital. The Luo family was located in a mountain range on the side of the capital of the Tianshui Empire. The entire mountain range was the territory of the Luo family, and no one was allowed to enter easily. The Luo family mansion was surrounded by the mountains like stars surrounding the moon. Birds sang and the fragrance of flowers bloomed. It was elegant and peaceful like a paradise. At this moment, in the simple yet elegant hall of the Luo family mansion, the head of the Luo family, Luo Wuchen, looked at the young man in front of him with surprise in his eyes. "You are a friend of my daughter Qinghan?" The young man in front of him was dressed in a robe whiter than snow. He was handsome and had a refined aura. He did not look like an ordinary person at all. At least, in Luo Wuchen's eyes, the most outstanding of the younger generation in the top sex of the Tianxin planet could not compare to this young man in white. Zhou Dongwang greets father-in-law. Zhou Dongwang bowed to Luo Wuchen. He understood this little bit of etiquette. Of course, it was also because the person in front of him was Luo Qinghan's father. Otherwise, even if the person in front of him was a mighty martial artist of the immortal stage, he would not have bowed to him. "You? What did you call me?" Luo Wuchen's eyes narrowed, and a look of shock appeared on his face. He quickly regained his composure, and his eyes were filled with anger. A giant sword dharma, 3 feet tall, appeared on his body. The sword light swallowed, and it emitted waves of unparalleled power that pressed down on Zhou Dongwang. The young man in front of him actually dared to take advantage of him and his daughter? Since when did his daughter have a husband? Chapter 217. Whoosh! As Luo Wuchen's giant sword dharma approached, Zhou Dongwang's golden inner yuan surged out of his body without any warning and easily resisted the power of the dharma. Golden essence adept. Seeing this, Luo Wuchen seemed to forget that he was still angry. He stared at the young man in front of him with his mouth agape. This young man looked to be around 20 years old, perhaps even younger than his daughter, Luo Qinghan. How could he already be a golden essence adept? Even his daughter, although she had also entered the ultimate primal core stage and become a golden essence adept when she left the Ziyun planet a year and a half ago, the strength of her inner yuan was still far from this young man. Furthermore, his daughter, Luo Qinghan, had only been able to achieve so much in such a short period of time because she had a miraculous encounter outside a few years ago. Just as Luo Wuchen stared at Zhou Dongwang in shock, thoughts flashed through his mind. After that miraculous encounter, Luo Qinghan's talent was so strong that no one in the entire Tianxin planet could match up to her. And this young man in front of me is actually more talented than Luo Qinghan? That's not right. Luo Qinghan only became enlightened a few years ago. If she had been enlightened 10 years ago, she would probably have entered the Dharma stage by now. However, even so, this young man's talent is probably not any worse than Luo Qinghan's. At that moment, Luo Wuchen's expression turned serious. He was so young and already had such achievements. This young man most likely had a powerful force behind him that the Luo family could not afford to offend. "Father-in-law," Zhou Dongwang spoke again, and Luo Wuchen's expression darkened once more. Without waiting for Luo Wuchen to speak, Zhou Dongwang looked at the giant sword dharma that had risen from Luo Wuchen's body and continued. This Dharma of yours has two obvious flaws. I'm sure you've noticed them long ago and try to hide them, but you've done a poor job of hiding them. Any Dharma adept with a good, I would be able to see these two flaws at a glance. As soon as Zhou Dongwang said this, Luo Wuchen's eyes narrowed. This was because the young man in front of him had hit the nail on the head. His Dharma idol did indeed have two obvious flaws, and this was also a flaw in the Luo family's inherited cultivation method. This had been the case for many generations. However, just as the young man in front of him had said, any Dharma adept with slightly better eyesight would be able to see through it at a glance. However, he never expected that. Today, the flaw in his Dharma form was actually seen through by a golden core cultivator, and it was exposed right in front of his face. If I'm not wrong, this is because of the cultivation technique you're practicing. There's a problem with it. When Zhou Dongwang spoke again, Luo Wuchen was even more shocked. He felt as if he had no secrets to hide from the young man in front of him. Who are you? Luo Wuchen asked solemnly. He could not figure out why such a person would come to the Luo clan to entertain him and address him as father-in-law. He had never heard his daughter mention that she had a man she liked or a close friend. Father-in-law, I've already introduced myself. I'm Zhou Dongwang, your son-in-law. This time, I came to the Luo family to propose marriage. Zhou Dongwang said, propose marriage? Hearing Zhou Dongwang's words, Luo Wuchen heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he frowned and said, even if you're here to propose marriage, isn't it too early for you to address me as father-in-law? After all, this marriage might not happen. It still depends on my daughter Qinghan's opinion. Furthermore, I don't know anything about you yet. I'll have to investigate further. Because of Zhou Dongwang's shocking words, Luo Wuchen's attitude towards him had changed subtly, and he was now much more polite. Father-in-law, your daughter and I have already consummated our marriage a few years ago. This time, I'm here to propose marriage to her because I want to be responsible for her. Zhou Donghuang's words, which were neither servile nor overbearing, instantly caused Luo Wuchen's expression to change drastically. Subconsciously, he shouted angrily, what did you say? You said that you and my daughter Qinghan already consummated our marriage? And it was a few years ago? Now, Luo Wuchen's face was alternating between green and white. The first thought that surfaced in his mind was that this person in front of him was spouting nonsense. However, when his eyes met Zhou Donghuang's, it was difficult to tell that he was lying. In fact, Zhou Donghuang's eyes were as clear as water, giving him the feeling that he was being overly cautious if he doubted Zhou Dongwang. Yes, Zhou Dongwang nodded seriously. When? Where? Although he still felt that it was ridiculous, Luo Wuchen forced himself to calm down and asked seriously. Without waiting for Zhou Donghuang's reply, Luo Wuchen's gaze turned cold, and he added, if this is true, then so be it. But if this is a lie that you made up, then you will be sentenced to death for slandering my daughter. Don't even think of leaving the Luo family today. Luo Wuchen warned. Following that, as Zhou Dongwang spoke, Luo Wuchen realized that the time that Zhou Dongwang had mentioned matched up perfectly with the time that his daughter had gone out that year. Furthermore, it was during that time that his daughter had returned that her talent had undergone a complete transformation. Someone, as Luo Wuchen shouted towards the outside of the main hall, a servant hurriedly rushed in and bowed respectfully, awaiting his orders. Go and find old Madam Li. Tell her that I have something urgent to attend to and will wait for her in the main hall. After Luo Wuchen gave the order, the servant hurriedly left. Father-in-law, this is my betrothal gift. After the servant left, Zhou Donghuang raised his hand, and a stack of paper appeared in his hand. This was the betrothal gift that he had prepared for the Luo family. Although he had never proposed marriage in his previous life, as the saying went, even if you have not eaten pork, you will have seen pigs run. As for the process of proposing marriage, he still knew a little about it. This betrothal gift, seeing Zhou Dongwang take out a stack of paper and say that it was a betrothal gift, Luo Wuchen frowned. He had seen stingy people before, but he had never seen someone as stingy as this. What kind of betrothal gift was this? On the Tianxian planet, The betrothal gifts for the betrothal gifts were usually large amounts of spirit stones and a few spirit weapons. But this white-robed young man in front of him had actually taken out a stack of paper. Do you want to get something for nothing? I'm not in a hurry with the betrothal gift. I want to confirm the truth of what you said first. Luo Wuchen waved his hands and said in a low voice, whether it's true or not, wouldn't it be clear once we call your daughter over? Zhou Dongwang said. Humph. Luo Wuchen snorted and glanced at Zhou Dongwang. He had wanted to say that his daughter had already left the Tianxin planet, but in the end, the reporter did not speak. About 15 minutes later, a skinny old woman wearing a loose green robe blew into the hall like a gust of wind. A late Dharma adept? Although the old lady did not display her Dharma power, Zhou Dongwang could still determine that she was a late Dharma adept based on her inner Yuan aura. He was even stronger than Luo Wuchen, the head of the Luo family. Zhou Dongwang was puzzled. Who is she? At this time, shouldn't my father-in-law call his daughter over? I heard from a maidservant that you have something urgent to discuss with me. After the old lady appeared, she glanced at Luo Wuchen and asked. At the same time, her gaze subconsciously fell on Zhou Dongwang, who was standing at the side, and she nodded to herself. This young man was handsome and could be considered the most outstanding person of the younger generation that she had ever seen in her life. Mother-in-law, Luo Wuchen bowed to the old lady. After his voice reached Zhou Dongwang's ears, Zhou Dongwang also knew who the old lady was. Immediately, he bowed and greeted the old lady. Granny. Granny? The old lady was stunned. What was going on? After a moment, an idea flashed in her mind, and the old lady's face darkened. She glared at Luo Wuchen and said coldly, Luo Wuchen, don't tell me that this is an illegitimate child that you raised outside. I remember telling you a long time ago that unless you are stronger than me, as long as I am alive, you will not let down my dead daughter. As she spoke, the old lady's tone became colder and colder. Mother-in-law, you have misunderstood. Luo Wuchen smiled bitterly. He's here to ask for my hand in marriage. He wants to marry Qing Han. Ask for her hand in marriage. Marry Qing Han? Hearing this, the old lady's expression softened. When she looked at Zhou Dongwang again, she began to size him up. Young man, you want to marry my granddaughter? If your granddaughter is Luo Qing Han, then that is correct. Zhou Dongwang said. Mother-in-law. At this moment, Luo Wuchen looked at the old lady seriously and asked in a low voice, when Qing Han had her miraculous encounter, what happened when she went out? Although I know that she had a miraculous encounter, every time I asked her about it, she purposely kept her mouth shut. Just now, this young man told me that when Qing Han went out, he and Qing Han had consummated their marriage. Did Qing Han tell you about this? Luo Wuchen could not help but be suspicious now. This was because his daughter's reaction was too strange, as if it was not convenient for her to tell him about what happened that time. You are Zhou Dongwang? Under Luo Wuchen's unwavering gaze, the old lady looked at Zhou Dongwang and asked with a look of surprise. The old lady's words caused Luo Wuchen's heart to sink once more. This mother-in-law of his actually knew this young man's name? Could it be that his daughter, who had always been as pure as ice and clean as jade, had really slept with this young man? At this moment, when Luo Wuchen looked at Zhou Dongwang again, he could not help but feel that he was an eyesore. It was said that daughters were their father's lovers in their previous lives. At this moment, Luo Wuchen felt as if his daughter had been snatched away from him. Chapter 2:18. Yes. Zhou Dongwang nodded at the old woman's question. At the same time, he vaguely realized that the old woman had most likely heard of him from Luo Qing Han. He was not surprised that Luo Wuchen did not know of him. After all, from Luo Qing Han's point of view, it was not convenient for her to tell her father about what had happened between him and Luo Qing Han. After all, men and women were different. However, it was perfectly normal for him to tell his grandmother about it. The old woman was Luo Qing Han's grandmother, Li Yu, a powerful late Dharma adept. Aren't you on the Xian planet of the Kaiyuan galaxy, where there are no galaxy teleporters? Why are you on the Tianxin planet? After receiving Zhou Dongwang's confirmation, Li secretly gasped. And you? Have you entered the primal core stage? Or did someone bring you here? Liu added. Before Zhou Dongwang could speak, Luo Wuchen said in a low voice, "Mother-in-law, this kid is a golden essence adept, and one that is infinitely close to the Dharma stage." Seeing his mother-in-law's reaction, Luo Wuchen was even more certain that what this kid called Zhou Donghuang had said was most likely true. Instantly, his face darkened, and he looked at Zhou Donghuang with an unfriendly gaze. This kid had actually slept with his daughter? Damn it! Furthermore, from what his mother-in-law had said, this kid had come from a galaxy that did not even have a galaxy teleporter. Under normal circumstances, a galaxy without a galaxy teleporter would not have produced a primordial soul adept. Even if there were primordial soul adepts who accidentally entered, they would not be interested in using a galaxy teleporter. If a primordial soul adept accidentally entered a galaxy without a galaxy teleporter, unless they felt that there was something good about the galaxy and that they might return in the future, they would definitely not spend the effort to set up a galaxy teleport on a planet in that galaxy. Although setting up a galaxy teleporter did not require any precious materials, it still required a lot of time. Unless it was absolutely necessary, no primordial soul adept would be so bored. Since when can someone from a galaxy without a galaxy teleport enter the ultimate primal core stage and become a golden essence adept at such a young age? Luo Wuchen did not doubt his mother-in-law's words, so he could not help but wonder. Golden essence adept, and one that is infinitely close to the Dharma stage? Li was frightened. Didn't her granddaughter say that Zhou Donghuang was only 16 or 17 years old and was just a small qi-gathering adept? He did not even seem to have attained petty consummation of a qi gathering. How many years has it been? He was already a golden core cultivator? Roar! Without any warning, a deafening bestial roar suddenly rang out in the hall. It was the projection of a giant beast that was bent over and crouching on the ground. It was a giant ape. The reason why the giant ape was crouching on the ground was because of its huge body. If it stood up, it would be able to lift the ceiling of the hall that was more than 10 meters high. Just now, Luo Wuchen's 30-foot Dharma power had almost touched the ceiling, let alone Li Yu's 10-foot giant ape Dharma power. However, even though the giant ape was bent over, its back was still close to the ceiling because its body was too big. Whoosh! The giant ape let out a roar as it appeared, and a strong aura pressed down on Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang's body also began to emit waves of golden flame-like inner yuan. In fact, the golden inner yuan that rose from his body was so vast that it far exceeded that of an ordinary golden essence adept. However, even so, in the face of the 10-foot giant ape Dharma power, his body still felt a burst of inner yuan. The pressure on his body caused his body to tremble slightly. He really is a golden essence adept. Li Yu retracted her Dharma power and looked at Zhou Donghuang as if she had seen a ghost. It looks like that girl Qing Han was wrong about him. How is this a mediocre person? He is obviously a genius who is even more talented than she is now. Li Yu muttered. Although her voice was not loud, Luo Wuchen could still hear her clearly. Luo Wuchen could not help but remind her, "Mother-in-law, don't forget, Qing Han only gained such talent a few years ago. If she had had such talent from a young age, how could her achievements be lower than this kid's?" As Luo Wuchen spoke, he looked at Zhou Donghuang with disdain. He could not help but feel that this kid was too detestable. How dare he tarnish his daughter's innocence? A few years ago, when Qing Han met him, he was only a qi-gathering adept, not even reaching petty consummation of the qi gathering. As soon as Li Yu said this, Luo Wuchen was once again stunned. He looked at Zhou Donghuang as if he had seen a ghost, unable to regain his composure. "Come, Donghuang, right? Come take a look at Granny." Li Yu waved at Zhou Donghuang warmly, and Zhou Donghuang took a few steps forward, looking warily at the old woman in front of him. This was because the other party was just too warm. Compared to Luo Wuchen, it was a stark contrast. "Not bad, not bad. You are handsome and have a good aura, way ahead of the most outstanding disciples of the younger generation of the major sections. Not bad, not bad." It was said that the more a mother-in-law looked at her son-in-law, the more interested she became. Now, When it came to Zhou Dongwang, it was like a mother-in-law looking at her grandson-in-law, and the more she looked at him, the more interested he became. "Are you here to propose marriage, to marry that girl Qinghan?" Li Yu asked with a smile. "Yes." Zhou Dongwang nodded. "Very good, very good. At such a young age, you are already so responsible. There are not many young people like you." I'm very satisfied, and I agree to this marriage." Li Yu nodded in satisfaction. Li Yu's warmth and decisiveness made Zhou Dongwang feel a little uncomfortable. However, it only lasted for a moment. After regaining his composure, Zhou Dongwang hurriedly bowed and thanked Li Yu. "Thank you, Granny. No need to thank me. No need to thank me. We are family." Li Yu smiled as she continued to look Zhou Dongwang up and down. As she did so, she nodded, as if she was very satisfied with Zhou Dongwang as her grandson-in-law. Mother-in-law. Just then, Luo Wuchen finally regained his composure and smiled bitterly. "I am Qinghan's father. I have not even agreed to this kid's marriage proposal. Why have you already agreed?" Facing Luo Wuchen, Li Yu's expression was not as friendly as before. She snorted and said, "In any case, I've already decided that he is my grandson-in-law." "Why? Do you have a problem with that?" Li Yu glared at Luo Wuchen. No. Luo Wuchen smiled bitterly as he shook his head. At the same time, he was even more puzzled. His mother-in-law was not someone to be trifled with. Otherwise, she would not have been able to become a late Dharma adept before the age of 500. Today, his mother-in-law was acting very strangely. There must be something behind this that he did not know. "Dongwang, you were born and raised on the planet of Ziyun?" When she looked at Zhou Dongwang again, Li Yu's old face continued to squeeze out a smile that was uglier than crying. "Sort of," Zhou Dongwang said. "Sort of?" Li Yu was taken aback. "When I was very young, my father sent me to the planet of Ziyun. I was raised by my foster mother. As long as I can remember, I have been on the planet of Ziyun," Zhou Dongwang explained. At the same time, a cold light flashed in his eyes. His fists involuntarily clenched together, and the golden inner yuan that he had already kept within him was released once again. It moved rhythmically around his fists, as if there was a layer of golden fog surrounding them. He thought about what had happened to his biological father, Zhou Haoyan, and his biological mother, Zhu Gejing, in his previous life. There are still close to 100 years left. "Father, mother, in this life, I will definitely save you before anything happens to you." Zhou Donghuang's eyes were filled with determination. Indeed, Li Yu secretly took a deep breath, and her heart was filled with realization. She had originally suspected the reason this young man before her was able to allow her granddaughter's natural talent in the martial Tao to undergo a complete transformation all those years ago was precisely because his bloodline was noble, and he possessed a natural talent in the martial Tao that far surpassed her granddaughter. That was why he was able to help her granddaughter undergo a complete transformation. Now, it seemed that it was indeed as she had suspected. There must be a reason why this child's father left him to be orphaned on such a remote planet. What I can be sure of is that between his father and his mother, at least one of them is not an ordinary person. Otherwise, it would not be possible for him to have such martial arts talent. Li Yu thought to herself, Dongwang. No matter how Li Yu looked at her grandson-in-law now, she found him pleasing to the eye. Not only was his martial arts talent amazing, but he was also handsome and looked steady. It would be extremely difficult for her granddaughter to find a man who was more outstanding than him. Most importantly, her granddaughter's body had been taken by him. In this aspect, Li Yu was very traditional. Of course, regardless of this or other reasons, she had already decided that this grandson-in-law before her would be the best choice. She also believed that her granddaughter would definitely not be at a disadvantage if she were to follow this grandson-in-law. She had lived for close to 500 years, and she was confident that her ability to read people was not bad. Grandma. Hearing Li Yu call him, Zhou Donghuang regained his composure, and his tightly clenched fists relaxed. The inner yuan around him also retracted at the right time. Speaking of which, it is really unfortunate. About a year and a half ago, that girl Qing Han followed, the primordial soul adept from the Honglio Galaxy, and a group of martial arts geniuses from the Tianxian planet who were less than 30 years old to the Honglio Galaxy, preparing to enter the top sects of the Honglio Galaxy. Liu smiled bitterly and said, by now, she should have already entered one of the top sects of the Honglio Galaxy. Before she left, she said that once she familiarized herself with the environment there, she would find some time to return. Why don't you stay behind and wait for her? Liu asked. After hearing Liu's words, Zhou Dongwang also realized that Luo Qinghan was no longer with the Luo family. She had gone to the Honglio Galaxy and entered one of the top sects of the Honglio Galaxy. As for which sect she had entered, even Liu and Luo Wuchen did not know. They would only know when Luo Qinghan returned. Chapter 219. Honglio Galaxy. The Honglio Galaxy. Isn't that the galaxy where my enemy from the Honglong planet of the Tiamat Galaxy is located? Isn't that the galaxy that the peak Dharma adept left for me? Zhou Dongwang remembered clearly. The enemy of that Dharma adept was the primordial soul adept of the fire sect of the Honglio Galaxy, Gong Sunling. Fire flaming sect, it was obvious that it was a sect named after a sect. Granny, I won't wait for her. If she comes back, tell her that I am also in the Honglio Galaxy. If everything goes as planned, we will meet in the Honglio Galaxy very soon. After Zhou Dongwang had spoken to Liu, he used his inner yuan to carry the stack of papers in his hands into Liu's hands. Granny, this is my betrothal gift. Zhou Dongwang hurriedly bade farewell to Liu and Luo Wuchen and turned to leave. He prepared to go to the galaxy teleporter nearby and teleport to the Honglio Galaxy. Zhou Dongwang came and went like the wind. Liu and Luo Wuchen only regained their senses when he disappeared from their sight. What impatient brat! Luo Wuchen cursed. I think I like his way of doing things. Liu smiled lightly. Mother-in-law. Luo Wuchen smiled bitterly. How could you so easily entrust Qing Han to someone else? Furthermore, we have not even asked for her opinion on this. How do you know if she is willing or not? Easily. Liu shook her head, and her eyes flashed with wisdom. Do you think that I, Liu, am that kind of person? Haven't you always wanted to know what kind of fortuitous encounter that girl Qing Han had when she went out a few years ago that allowed her martial talent to be reborn? Liu looked at Luo Wuchen and asked. Yes. Luo Wuchen nodded. I have asked her a few times, but she always changed the topic and refused to tell me. It is normal that she did not want to tell you. Although you are her father, you are also a man. There are differences between men and women. Liu said, about Qing Han and Dongwang. Dongwang should have told you, right? Otherwise, you would not have asked me to confirm it. Yes. Luo Wuchen nodded. I did know that Meng from the He family drugged Qing Han, but I didn't know that Qing Han suffered so much in the end. Back then, he knew that Luo Qing Han and his mother-in-law had gone to the He family together to kill the young mistress of the He family, Meng. The transformation of Qing Han's talent was due to that one night with Dongwang. As soon as Liu said this, Luo Wuchen was shocked into a daze. He only regained his composure after a while and looked at Liu in disbelief. Mother-in-law, you mean to say that Zhou Donghuang has a noble bloodline and extraordinary talent that far surpasses Qing Han's, which is why Qing Han's martial talent has undergone such a shocking transformation. In the boundless universe, the bloodline of humans was about the same in the beginning. However, when some humans achieve success in their cultivation, their bloodline would undergo a subtle transformation along with the increase in their cultivation. The offspring of these people would naturally have a bloodline of a higher grade than the average human. In the union of two humans, if one of them had a bloodline that was far superior to the other, and if the one with the higher bloodline was still a virgin or a child, then the other's talent in martial arts would undergo a complete transformation after the union of the two. Luo Wuchen knew this very well. Yes. Liu nodded. Could it be that Qing Han had some other fortuitous encounter? Luo Wuchen asked. Impossible. Liu shook her head. Qing Han has told me everything that happened on that trip, and I can conclude that the transformation of her martial talent has something to do with Dongwang. However, when Qing Han said that Dongwang was only a qi-gathering adept, I was puzzled, But now, it seems that for some reason, Dong Wang was still a qi-gathering adept at the age of 16 or 17. However, in these few years, Dong Wang's talent has clearly been fully displayed. Otherwise, he would not have been able to become a golden essence adept at such a young age. Furthermore, as a golden essence adept, his inner yuan is much richer than that of an average golden essence adept. It is so rich that it is unbelievable. I think that he is only half a step away from the Dharma stage. Li Yu's words caused Luo Wuchen to fall silent for a moment. I was still wondering how someone with such a noble bloodline could exist on a small planet in a galaxy that does not even have a galaxy teleporter. But Dong Huang has already answered my question. Li Yu's eyes shone as she spoke again. Dong Huang only grew up on the planet of Ziyun, and he is not a descendant of the people of Yun. He was entrusted to the planet by his biological father. For Qing Han to be able to marry him is Qing Han's good fortune. Furthermore, I can tell that although Dong Huang is a little quiet, he has a maturity and steadiness that does not match his age, and he is very responsible. Qing Han will not be at a disadvantage in this marriage. Li Yu is not stingy with her praise for Zhou Dong Huang. Hearing this, Luo Wuchen could not help but feel a little jealous. His mother-in-law had never praised him like this before. However, jealousy was one thing, but he was still very concerned about his daughter's marriage. After listening to Li Yu's analysis, he finally relaxed. Thinking back, he realized that when he had tried to accept Zhou Dong Huang as his son-in-law, Zhou Dong Huang had not seemed so annoying. With just the level of a primal core adept, he was able to see through the flaws in my Dharma power. It seems that when his father entrusted him to the planet of Ziyun, he also left him many good things. Otherwise, he would not have been able to see through the flaws in my Dharma power with his level of practice. Luo Wuchen thought to himself, I don't know what will happen in the future, but from the looks of it, not only will Qing Han be at a disadvantage, but the Luo family will also be at a disadvantage. Luo Wuchen's gaze fell on the stack of papers in Li Yu's hands, and he scolded, That rascal! He could have just taken out some spirit stones as a betrothal gift, but he only gave her a few pieces of paper. How could he be so stingy? If he is so stingy, the Luo family will definitely not give him a dowry in the future. Luo Wuchen was exasperated. Betrothal gift? Hearing Luo Wuchen's reminder, Li Yu picked up the papers in her hands and looked at them seriously. Her expression gradually became serious. Seeing Li Yu's expression, Luo Wuchen's heart skipped a beat. What did that rascal write on these papers? After a while, he saw Li Yu's face light up with joy, and then with ecstasy. Her eyes and face were filled with excitement, and in the end, she could not help but laugh out loud. The old man's laughter reverberated in the hall, making Luo Wuchen even more curious about what was written on the papers. Good. With this technique, I, Li Yu, will definitely enter the primordial soul stage, Li Yu said excitedly with an excited look on her face. Technique? Luo Wuchen's eyes narrowed. Furthermore, it was a technique that made his mother-in-law confident that she would definitely enter the primordial soul stage. Although his mother-in-law still had more than 100 years to break through to the primordial soul stage, it was almost impossible for her to do so. This was something that even his mother-in-law herself had said long ago, and she was even more mentally prepared for it. However, what he did not expect was this. His mother-in-law, after seeing the technique that his future son-in-law had left behind as a betrothal gift, had actually said that with this technique, she would definitely enter the primordial soul stage. What kind of technique was this? Mother-in-law, what technique did that rascal leave behind? Luo Wuchen looked at Li Yu and could not help but ask curiously. The technique of everlasting youth. Li Yu stared at the papers in her hands, and she flipped through them page by page. This technique far surpasses the technique that I previously practiced and the Luo family's legacy technique. In fact, the difference between this technique and ours is like the difference between the clouds and the mud. This technique not only increases the speed of our practice, but can also make our Dharma power even stronger. For Dharma adepts, the better the technique they practice, the stronger their Dharma power will be. If I successfully switch to this technique, Even if I am still at the late Dharma stage, I am confident that I can battle the ultimate Dharma adepts of the top sects of the Tianqian planet. In addition, once I successfully switch to this technique, my lifespan will be extended by another 300 years. Even if I do not enter the primordial soul stage, I will still be able to live to 900 years old. The technique of everlasting youth was the technique that Zhou Donghuang had passed on to his mother, Lin Lan. Once one reached the primal core stage, one's lifespan would be increased by another 50%. Primal core adepts who practiced the technique of everlasting youth could live up to 450 years old. Once they entered the Dharma stage, they could live up to 900 years old, which was 50% longer than the 600 years that the average Dharma adept had. The same was true for the later stages of practice. One's lifespan would be 50% longer than others of the same stage. This technique can actually extend one's lifespan. This is no different from changing one's destiny. The more Liu spoke, the more excited she became. Donghuang left a note at the end saying that this technique, even in the entire universe, is a top-notch technique. He said that once we enter the primordial soul stage, he will pass on the rest of the technique to us. This technique can be practiced all the way to the deity's tribulation stage. Luo Wuchen was completely dumbfounded. Just now, he had been complaining about his future son-in-law's stinginess, only giving him a stack of paper as a betrothal gift and not giving him some spirit stones. Who knew that in the next moment, he would be slapped in the face? When Luo Wuchen took the technique of everlasting youth from Li Yu's hands and confirmed the authenticity of the technique, he could not help but reveal a look of excitement on his face. He was so excited that he slapped his thighs repeatedly. Good son-in-law. Good son-in-law. I, Luo Wuchen, will accept this son-in-law. If that last Qinghan dares to object, I will break her legs. This time, Liu did not refute Luo Wuchen's words. Instead, she agreed. That's right. If that last dares to object to this marriage, you break her left leg, and I will break her right leg. Chapter 220. Up ahead should be the Lightning Sword sect. Outside a galactic teleportation formation, a young man in clothes whiter than snow stood in the air. He looked at the buildings that were situated among the sword peaks in the distance and mumbled to himself. The galaxy teleporter behind the young man had the coordinates: Hunglio Galaxy, Tailao Planet, the Lightning Sword sect. The young man dressed in white was Zhou Donghuang, who had just left the Tianqian planet of the Luoha Galaxy. At this time, third senior sister was still the daughter of the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect. Zhou Donghuang had come here because there was someone he knew here. More accurately, someone he knew from his previous life. His third senior sister. In his previous life, there were not many people he cared about, and third senior sister was one of them. Although third senior sister did not die because of him, she had been very kind to him and had saved his life many times. Because of this, Zhou Donghuang had been very hurt by her death in his previous life. He had even hated himself for not being able to save third senior sister and could only watch her die in front of him. Although he later avenged his third senior sister, she was unable to come back to life. Now that he had been reborn 1,000 years ago, he could change history and not let third senior sister, who had treated him like a mother and sister, die again. In my previous life, the Lightning Sword sect was brutally destroyed, and third senior sister was lucky enough to escape. After leaving the Hunglio Galaxy, she joined the sect that I joined after her, and we were both under the same master. In fact, I was only able to become master's disciple because third senior sister helped me. Otherwise, master would not have cared about me at that time. Zhou Donghuang's third senior sister was called He Mengxi, and she was 10 years older than him. In his previous life, when he had met her, she had already been an ultimate primordial soul adept, and her abilities were astonishing. An ultimate primordial soul adept who was not even 200 years old was considered quite talented even among the thousands of races in the universe. One had to know that many people could advance quickly in their early stages, but might not be able to advance further in the future. In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang had met someone who had entered the Dharma stage before the age of 30 and before the age of 50, he had entered the primordial soul stage. However, that person was still stuck at the primordial soul stage until he was 1,000 years old, and he finally died. One had to know that he had already entered the primordial soul stage before he was 300 years old. In the next 600 years, no matter how hard he tried, he was unable to enter the deity transformation stage. As a result, he died at the end of his life. A primordial soul adept's lifespan was usually 1,000 years. Of course, if a nascent divinity adept cultivated a technique like the technique of everlasting youth, his lifespan could be extended to 1,500 years. Who are you, and why have you come to the Lightning Sect? Just as Zhou Donghuang neared the periphery of the cluster of buildings within the many sword peaks, he was stopped by someone. The ones who stopped him were two young men in their 30s. They were surrounded by golden true essence. They were both golden core cultivators. One of them, a skinny young man, carried a sheathed longsword on his back. On the other hand, there was a huge sheathless sword on the back of a sturdy young man. The heavy sword had no edge, and it looked very skillful. These two were the Lightning Sword Sect's patrolling disciples. They noticed Zhou Donghuang's sword sect and stepped forward to stop him. I'm looking for He Mengxi from the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword Sect, Zhou Donghuang said. You're looking for Sister He? Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the eyes of the two patrolling disciples of the Lightning Sword Sect narrowed slightly. At the same time, their cold expressions became friendly in an instant. Little brother, who are you? Why are you looking for Sister He? The skinny disciple forced a smile and asked politely. He did not seem arrogant, just because Zhou Donghuang was only a silver essence adept. At this moment, Zhou Donghuang was surrounded by silver inner yuan. This was the mark of a silver essence adept. She's my sister. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Sister? Zhou Donghuang's words caused the two patrolling disciples to look shocked. Could it be that the person in front of them was a disciple that the Autumn Valley head had taken in outside? He looked to be in his early 20s at most, but he was already a silver core cultivator. That was possible. Little brother, I'll take you to the Autumn Valley. The skinny patrolling disciple of the Lightning Sword Sect greeted the other person and led Zhou Donghuang into the Lightning Sword Sect. Along the way, Zhou Donghuang studied the sword peaks around him that looked like sharp swords rising into the sky. These sword peaks were obviously sculpted, and each sword formation looked like a sword. Even a divine transformation adept would have to spend a lot of effort to sculpt hundreds of sword peaks like this. Little brother, are you a disciple that the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword Sect took in? Why are you only here now? The skinny disciple asked curiously. I have some matters to settle. Zhou Donghuang gave a perfunctory reply. He could not possibly say that he did not know the Autumn Valley head and had never even seen him before. Could he? In his past life, when he had known third senior sister, her father, who was the Autumn Valley head, had already perished along with the Lightning Sword Sect. Now, the most important thing was to see his third sister. As long as he saw her, everything would be easy. How should I address you? Little brother? Zhou Donghuang. So, it's little brother Zhou? Little brother Zhou, I'm Lu Ping, a disciple of the Wood Division of the Lightning Sword Sect. On the way to the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword Sect, Lu Ping was very friendly to Zhou Donghuang, to the point that Zhou Donghuang could not stand it. How friendly was he? Lu Ping's friendliness even made Zhou Donghuang suspicious. Did this Lu Ping know that he had been a celestial in his previous life? Otherwise, why would they be so enthusiastic to the point of fawning over him? What Zhou Donghuang did not know was, in the Lightning Sword Sect, the disciples were divided into outer and inner disciples. Only the inner disciples could enter the four valleys, including the Autumn Valley, and become disciples of the four valleys. The four valleys were the Spring Valley, the Summer Valley, the Autumn Valley, and the Winter Valley. In the Lightning Sword Sect, there was only one way for an outer disciple to become an inner disciple and enter the four valleys. That was to enter the Dharma stage before the age of 30 and become a Dharma adept. Other than that, the other way was to catch the eye of the valley head and be personally accepted as a disciple. Because of this, there were still a few young disciples in the spring, summer, autumn and winter valleys who had not entered the Dharma stage. These young disciples who entered the four valleys, even if they had not entered the Dharma stage, were still inner disciples of the lightning sword sect. Lu Ping, who was now leading the way for Zhou Dongwang, was only an outer disciple of the lightning sword sect. He was in his 30s and had not yet entered the Dharma stage. Inner disciples were all talented people. In the future, they would at least be able to become an elder in the lightning sword sect. Outer disciples, on the other hand, would at most be a small steward in the outer sect for their entire lives. In Lu Ping's eyes, since the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect had made an exception to accept Zhou Donghuang as a disciple, he was definitely talented and had a bright future ahead of him. Now, he could still say a few words to Zhou Donghuang and get to know him. In the future, he might not even be able to talk to him. There were only benefits to familiarizing oneself with them as early as possible. There were no disadvantages. Brother Zhou, we've arrived at the Autumn Valley. With Lu Ping leading the way, Zhou Donghuang arrived at a vast valley. Maple leaves fluttered in the air, and it was the scene of autumn. Red maple leaves covered the ground, and many flowers and plants had withered. Some fruit trees had ripened. This is the Autumn Valley? Zhou Donghuang's heart skipped a beat. Outer disciple, why have you come to the Autumn Valley? A figure suddenly flew out from one side of the Autumn Valley. It was a young man dressed in a long green robe. Although he was flying in the air, there was no inner yuan around him. It was obvious that he was an adept at or above the Dharma stage. Only adepts at or above the Dharma stage could restrain their inner yuan. Outer disciple Lu Ping greets Brother Huang. Lu Ping bowed respectfully to the newcomer and introduced Zhou Donghuang. Brother Huang, this Brother Zhou is a disciple, that valley head he took in. He has just arrived at the Lightning Sword sect today. Without waiting for the green-robed young man to speak, Lu Ping smiled and said to Zhou Donghuang, Brother Zhou, since I brought you to the Autumn Valley, I'll take my leave now. After Lu Ping left, the green-robed young man looked Zhou Donghuang up and down. You're a disciple that the valley head took in outside? Zhou Donghuang did not answer the green-robed young man directly. Instead, he smiled at him and said, Please bring me to see Sister Himengshi. Come with me. When the green-robed young man heard that Zhou Donghuang wanted to see the Autumn Valley head's daughter, Himengshi, he did not ask any more questions and led the way. Sister Himengshi, someone is looking for you. The young man brought Zhou Donghuang to the other side of the valley, halfway up the mountain. There was a spacious courtyard on a wide stone platform. As the young man spoke, a beautiful figure quickly floated out of the courtyard. It was a young lady dressed in a sky-blue dress. The lady looked to be in her 20s, and it was impossible to tell that she was over 30. Her eyebrows were like a painting, and her eyes were like the stars. Her cheeks were delicate and pretty, and her long hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall. She was more than 7 meters tall, and her figure was slender. As she stood there, her long legs were especially eye-catching. As the lady walked out, Zhou Donghuang's eyes locked onto her. His body trembled slightly, and he could no longer maintain his composure. More than 800 years. He had not seen his third sister in more than 800 years. She looked exactly like the third sister in his memory, except that she looked younger, and her aura was not as mature as the third sister in his memory. Who are you? What business do you have with me? Himengshi asked as she looked at the young man in white standing beside the green-robed young man. Sister Himengshi, you don't know him? The green-robed young man's expression changed. Chapter 2:21. Who are you? Why are you pretending to be a disciple of the Autumn Valley? The green-robed young man glared at Zhou Donghuang. He had never imagined that someone would pretend to be a disciple of the Autumn Valley. Was he not afraid of death? Just now, because he did not think that anyone would dare to pretend to be a disciple of the Autumn Valley, he had brought the white-robed young man to Himengshi. He did not think that Himengshi might not know that the Autumn Valley head had accepted such a disciple, because that was almost impossible. Himengshi was the only daughter of the Autumn Valley head. Pretending to be a disciple of the Autumn Valley? Hearing the green-robed young man's words, Himengshi frowned slightly. Then, she looked seriously at the white-robed young man in front of her. The way the white-robed young man looked at her gave her a strange feeling. as if he knew her. Just as the green-robed young man took a step forward and his Dharma power appeared, about to attack Zhou Dongwang, Mengshi stopped him. "Senior brother Huang Long, wait." The young man in the green robe was named Huang Long. Although he was not as powerful as Mengshi, he was older than Mengshi and had entered the Autumn Valley before Mengshi had even reached the Dharma stage. As such, Mengshi had to address him as senior. Since Mengshi had spoken, Huang Long naturally could not disobey. As he withdrew his Dharma power, he glared at Zhou Dongwang. "You know me?" Mengshi looked at Zhou Dongwang and asked curiously. "Third senior sister." At this time, Zhou Dongwang finally regained his composure and tried to suppress his emotions. He took a deep breath and smiled as he greeted Mengshi. "Third senior sister?" Zhou Dongwang's greeting of Mengshi surprised her. "Did you get the wrong person?" "Third senior sister, I would like to speak to you in private," Zhou Dongwang said. "Rascal, you're pretending to be a disciple of the Autumn Valley. You should be punished. How dare you make such a request of junior sister Mengshi?" Huang Long said angrily. Mengshi and Zhou Dongwang looked at each other. After a moment, she looked at Huang Long. "Senior brother Huang Long, go do what you need to do. I would like to hear what he has to say. If he can't explain himself, I'll punish him severely and kick him out of the Autumn Valley and out of the Lightning Sword sect." Huang Long nodded. Before he left, he glared angrily at Zhou Dongwang. "Brat, don't play any tricks." What he said was just a casual remark. Mengshi's strength was above his, so he naturally didn't think that a mere silver core cultivator could pose a threat to her. After Huang Long left, Mengshi looked at Zhou Dongwang, whose gaze had never left her. "Now it's just the two of us. What do you want to say?" "Third sister." Zhou Dongwang looked at Mengshi and said slowly, "When you were 6 years old, you secretly placed a rat in your father's boots later because you were afraid that your father would be angry and punish you. You secretly took the rat away." "How did you know?" Mengshi's expression changed. She was the only one who knew about this. Even her father didn't know about it. However, the white-clothed young man in front of her had casually said it, causing her hair to stand on end. Who was this person? How did he know this secret of hers? Zhou Dongwang didn't respond to Mengshi and continued. "When you were 13, you entered the Khanate stage on the first day of the year. In order to get your father to praise you, you said that you broke through on the last day of the year you were 12. Mengshi's eyes narrowed. This matter was also a secret that only she knew. When you were 19, when you were 21, what Zhou Dongwang was saying now was what his third sister, Mengshi, had told him when they were chatting in his previous life. Before Mengshi had told him about this, only she knew about it. Who are you?" Mengshi's face was pale as she looked at the white-clothed young man in front of her. She felt that she had no secrets in front of this person. "Third sister." Zhou Dongwang smiled and said, "Don't be afraid. These are all the secrets I know about you. Speaking of which, you might not believe me. I only knew about these things in a dream. In the first half of the past year, I had a very long dream. In the dream, you were my third sister, and you told me about your background. You are Mengshi, a disciple of the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect on the Tailao planet of the Honglio galaxy. The things that I said just now were all told to me in the dream. I am not from the Tailao planet, not even from the Honglio galaxy. I am from the Ziyun planet of the Kaiyuan galaxy. The Dongwang sect, the leader of the top 5 sects of the Ziyun planet, is my sect, and I'm the current leader of the Dongwang sect. I left the Ziyun planet half a year ago. Third sister, you can investigate all of this. I have no ill intentions in coming here. I just want to verify that dream. I never thought that the dream would be real." Zhou Dongwang sighed. As he said this, he saw the suspicion in Mengshi's eyes, so he revealed his background without fear. "Furthermore, if what I said is true, third sister, you're the only one who knows about this. How did I know about it? Don't tell me that I have such extraordinary methods. Furthermore, I am 10 years younger than you, third sister. When you were 6, I was not even born yet." Zhou Dongwang continued. The reason why Zhou Dongwang had come up with such a big lie was because he really did not know how to explain it to his third sister. Other than this, he could not think of a better way to make third sister accept him as her junior without revealing that he had come from 1,000 years in the future. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Himengxi's furrowed brows relaxed. She felt that Zhou Donghuang's words made sense. You came to the Lightning Sword sect, to the Autumn Valley, just to see me and verify your dream? Himengxi asked. Not just that. Zhou Donghuang's expression was solemn as he said, in my dream, I dreamt of something else. In the near future, the Lightning Sword sect would face a calamity. In that calamity, your father, the Autumn Valley head, died. As for you, you left the Tylao planet and the Hunglio galaxy. I also met you later on. At that time, you were already an ultimate primordial soul adept. You and I were in the same sect, under the same master. Our master's disciples, eldest senior brother and second senior sister, died before you entered the sect. Among our master's disciples, you were ranked 3rd, and I was the last to enter the sect, ranked 4th. Because of this, I address you as third sister. At this point, Zhou Donghuang did not continue. Himengxi's expression had already changed. In her heart, she naturally felt that Zhou Donghuang's words were a little far-fetched. However, the secrets that Zhou Donghuang had spoken of were only known to her. Apart from her, no one else could have known. She was 100% sure of this. Combining all these factors, although she felt that it was ridiculous, she still believed the words of the young man in white before her. Why would the Lightning Sword sect face a calamity? When would it happen? Himengxi asked. Hearing Himengxi ask this, Zhou Donghuang knew that she already believed his words. The Lightning Sword sect calamity was caused by the Spring Valley head. As for the specific reason, you did not tell me. As for when it would happen, you did not tell me clearly. Seeing that Himengxi's expression had changed and her brows had furrowed, Zhou Donghuang said, at that time, you only told me that when the Lightning Sword sect was destroyed. Third sister, you had just broken through and entered the late Dharma stage. If your level of practice had not increased due to my appearance, and you had trained normally, when you entered the late Dharma stage, you would have brought your father away from the Autumn Valley, and you would have been able to escape. Zhou Donghuang continued. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Himengxi heaved a sigh of relief. Third sister, the Ziyun planet that I am from is no longer suitable for me to continue training there. I would like to stay in the Autumn Valley to train. Can you speak to your father? Zhou Donghuang said to Himengxi. Hearing this, Himengxi looked deeply at Zhou Donghuang. Before the age of 30, if you do not enter the Dharma stage, you cannot enter the Autumn Valley. How old are you this year? And what is your level of practice? Himengxi asked. 24 years old, Golden Essence stage. Zhou Donghuang said. 24 years old, Golden Essence stage. Himengxi was shocked. Even she had only entered the Golden Essence stage when she was 25 years old. The person before her had actually entered the Golden Essence stage earlier than her. Furthermore, from what he had said, the planet that he had been on was obviously not as good as the Tylao planet, where the Lightning Sword sect was located. Within the Autumn Valley, there was a spell that could detect one's age through one's bones. After Himengxi brought Zhou Donghuang there to confirm his age, and after seeing the golden inner yuan that surrounded Zhou Donghuang's body, she finally believed his words. The martial arts talent that you have displayed so far is sufficient. I can ask my father to accept you into the Autumn Valley, Himengxi said to Zhou Donghuang. However, if you're not able to enter the Dharma stage before the age of 30, and you wish to remain in the Lightning Sword sect, you'll have to leave the Autumn Valley and join the 5 outer halls. The 5 outer halls of the Lightning Sword sect were the Gold Hall, the Wood Hall, the Water Hall, the Fire Hall, and the Earth Hall. Previously, the patrolling disciple who had sent Zhou Donghuang to the Autumn Valley, Lu Ping, had claimed to be a disciple of the Wood Hall of the Lightning Sword sect. All right, Zhou Donghuang nodded, but at the same time, he reminded Himengxi, third senior sister, the things that I have told you. It is best that you do not tell your father. It is fine if he does not believe me, but if he does, it will only add to his troubles. I know what I am doing, Himengxi said. Just now, you said that you are from the Ziyun planet of the Kaiyuan galaxy? Furthermore, you are the current leader of the Donghuang sect, one of the top 5 sects on the Ziyun planet? Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded, and his eyes flashed. On the Ziyun planet, if I claim to be the second strongest in martial arts, no one would dare to claim to be the first. In the current generation of the Ziyun planet, I, Zhou Dongwang, am invincible. Chapter 222. But, third senior sister, if you want to go to the Kaiyuan Galaxy or the Ziyun planet, there's no way to use the Galaxy Teleporter. There is no Galaxy Teleporter in the Kaiyuan Galaxy, Zhou Dongwang said to He Mengshi. Zhou Dongwang said to He Mengshi, however, I have the specific coordinates of the Galaxy Teleporter closest to Ziyun, which is adjacent to the Kaiyuan Galaxy. I can give it to you. In addition, I can create a three-dimensional star chart to show you how to get to the Ziyun planet from the Galaxy Teleporter. Zhou Donghuang's words were very magnanimous. In his previous life, he had understood his third senior sister very well. She was a cautious person, and she would definitely go to the Ziyun planet to find out more about him. Only then would she be at ease. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Dongwang took out a pen and paper and drew a three-dimensional star chart on the paper. He marked out the coordinates of the Galaxy Teleporter in the Autumn Mountain Galaxy, the Heiyu planet, and the route to the Ziyun planet in the Kaiyuan Galaxy. He then handed it to He Mengshi. He Mengshi did not stop him throughout the process, because sooner or later, she would have to draw this star chart for him. Under He Mengshi's shocked gaze, Zhou Dongwang spoke first. In my dream, third senior sister, you were a cautious person, so I concluded that you would definitely go to the Ziyun planet. In the coming days, I will be busy breaking through to my current level of practice, and I plan to stay in the Autumn Valley to train. So I'm afraid I won't be able to go with you, third senior sister. Zhou Dongwang said. As she took the star chart, He Mengshi looked at Zhou Dongwang with a complicated expression. She felt that she had no secrets in front of him. You said earlier that your dream lasted for half a year, and it has now ended. When did it end? He Mengshi asked. Zhou Dongwang took a deep breath. Third senior sister, I only woke up when you died in the dream. Died? He Mengshi's expression changed. Everyone was afraid of death, and she was only 34 years old. Even with her current level of practice, she could normally live to 600 years old. How did you die? He Mengshi asked in a low voice. I was killed. Zhou Dongwang sighed and said, but don't worry, third senior sister, since I have come to the Autumn Valley to find you, I will definitely change your fate in my dream. Furthermore, as long as you and your father are able to avoid the lightning sword sect's destruction, my dream will also change. In reality, my appearance in front of you has already changed the trajectory of our lives in my dream. In the dream, I only met you 100 years later. Zhou Dongwang said. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, He Mengshi heaved a sigh of relief. If that was the case, then her and her father's fate in Zhou Donghuang's dream could be changed. I'll take you to see my father so that he can accept you as a disciple of the Autumn Valley. He Mengshi brought Zhou Dongwang to find her father, the current valley head of the Autumn Valley, He Jin. He Jin was a middle-aged man of average build and average looks. He had a goatee and a mustache above his upper lip. At first glance, he looked nothing like He Mengshi. It was hard to imagine how someone as average as He Jin, who had lost face and could not be found in a group, could have such a beautiful daughter. Zhou Dongwang looked at He Jin carefully and found that He Jin and He Mengshi looked alike. The contours of their ears were almost exactly the same. Father, his name is Zhou Dongwang. He is a martial arts genius that I met outside. He is 24 years old and became a Golden Essence adept a year ago, 1 year before I did. He Mengshi stood in front of He Jin. She no longer had the mature look from before. Instead, she was like a lively little girl. She held He Jin's arm and smiled as she introduced Zhou Dongwang to him. Greetings, Valley Head. Zhou Dongwang nodded at He Jin and cupped his hands in greeting. Of course, he only bowed to the man in front of him because He Mengshi was his third senior sister. If not for He Mengshi, even if the Lightning Sword Sect leader appeared in front of Zhou Dongwang would not have bowed to him, much less He Jin, who was only the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword Sect. This was also the pride of his past life as an ultimate celestial adept. I believe in that girl Mengshi's judgment. He Jin was obviously a friendly and approachable person. He smiled at Zhou Dongwang. Young man, since Mengshi has brought you here, I assume that you have the intention of entering the Lightning Sword sect in the Autumn Valley? Yes. Zhou Dongwang nodded. I can let you enter the Autumn Valley, but I have to warn you first. He Jin had not finished speaking when Mengshi interrupted him. Father, I have already told him that if he does not reach the Dharma stage by the age of 30, he will be expelled from the Autumn Valley and sent to the 5 outer halls. He will be demoted from an inner disciple to an outer disciple. Obviously, Mengshi knew what her father was going to say next. Since you have already told him, I will not repeat myself. He Jin looked at Mengshi dotingly. Mengshi, I have already agreed. You can take him to complete the formalities for entering the sect. Yes, father. Mengshi replied and looked at He Jin longingly. Under He Jin's shocked gaze, she finally left with Zhou Dongwang. This girl, I have never seen her so clingy before. He Jin could not help but shake his head and smile at Mengshi's reluctant gaze. The doting look in his eyes deepened. The formalities for entering the sect were not done in the Autumn Valley. Instead, they had to be done at the Earth Hall, one of the 5 outer halls of the Lightning Sword sect. However, with Mengshi, the only daughter of the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, taking Zhou Dongwang along, everything went smoothly. In less than an hour, everything was done. Zhou Dongwang received a total of 3 items. Every month, inner sect disciples could receive a spirit stone, 1 superior quality spirit stone. The Lightning Sword sect inner sect disciple identity token was a silver, sword-shaped token with the words lightning carved on the front and Zhou Dongwang's name on the back. There is also a red maple leaf metal piece that could be pinned to the chest with Zhou Dongwang's name on the back. This was also the symbol of an Autumn Valley disciple. The inner sect disciples are divided into 4 valleys. The Autumn Valley is only one of them. There are also the Spring Valley, the Summer Valley, and the Winter Valley. The Autumn Valley, including you, has a total of 56 disciples. Inner sect disciples who can attain the primordial soul stage before the age of 100 can become core disciples. They can leave the 4 valleys and head to the Lightning Peak to train. The Lightning Peak is where the core disciples of the Lightning Sword sect and the strongest of the sect gather. Every once in a while, the strongest of the sect will give a lecture. My father is the Autumn Valley head and one of the pillars of the Lightning Sword sect. Every year, he goes to the Lightning Peak to give a few lectures. Core disciples can receive 10 superior quality spirit stones every month. As Mengshi finished speaking, Zhou Dongwang thought of the small, inferior quality spirit stone mines owned by the 5 main sects of the Xian planet and could not help but sigh to himself. In comparison, the Lightning Sword sect seemed rich and powerful. Moreover, in his previous life, he had heard from 3rd Senior Sister that the Lightning Sword sect was one of the top sects in the Honglio galaxy. Initially, when he had found out that the enemy of the Dharma adept who had left behind the Soul Shaper was in the Honglio galaxy, he had thought it was a coincidence because he had originally planned to go to the Lightning Sword sect to train. Later, when he had gone to the Tianxin planet of the Lua galaxy, he had found out from the Luo family that his fiancée, Luo Qinghan, was also in the Honglio galaxy. In my previous life, 3rd Senior Sister told me that the Lightning Sword sect has a divine transformation adept. Usually, a sect with a divine transformation adept would have at least 1 small-scale superior quality spirit stone mine and several large-scale medium-quality spirit stone mines. Zhou Donghuang's heart skipped a beat. Let's go back to the Autumn Valley. I'll introduce you to a group of brothers and sisters in the Autumn Valley. After Mengshi brought Zhou Dongwang back to the Autumn Valley, she formally introduced Zhou Dongwang to a group of Autumn Valley disciples in the sky above the Autumn Valley. This also let all the disciples who were not training in seclusion know that a new disciple had joined the Autumn Valley. Little junior brother, introduce yourself, Mengshi said to Zhou Dongwang after introducing him. Mengshi had originally called Zhou Dongwang junior brother Zhou, but Zhou Dongwang had insisted that she call him little junior brother. Seeing that Zhou Dongwang was serious, Mengshi could only go along with him. After all, she still had to rely on Zhou Dongwang to change her and her father's fate. There was even one thing that she had not told Zhou Dongwang yet. She wanted to change the fate of the entire Lightning Sword sect and save it from destruction. Hello everyone, my name is Zhou Dongwang. Zhou Dongwang stood up and looked around at the people who had risen into the air and greeted them. Ha! Hello, Junior Brother Zhou. Junior Brother Zhou, you're so handsome. I want to pursue you, is that okay? Junior Brother Zhou is only a golden essence adept, and yet he has joined the Autumn Valley. It seems like the Valley Head is very confident in Junior Brother Zhou's martial arts talent. Junior Brother Zhou, you haven't picked a place to train yet, have you? There's an empty yard near where I train. Why don't you stay there? I'll go over and give you some pointers when I have time in the future. Appearance was not only useful on Earth, but it was also useful in the boundless universe. Now, among the group of Autumn Valley disciples, the ones who were most enthusiastic about Zhou Dongwang joining the sect were some of the female disciples, who were constantly throwing flirtatious glances at him. Many of the male disciples looked at Zhou Dongwang with jealousy. This kid, is he really a disciple that the Valley Head took an outside, but junior sister Mingxi doesn't know about it? Huang Long, the Autumn Valley disciple who had brought Zhou Dongwang to look for He Mengxi 2 hours ago, stood in the air and speculated to himself. But it's only been 2 hours. How did he go from a silver essence adept to a golden essence adept? Could it be that he broke through in just 2 hours? Now, Zhou Dongwang stood in the air in front of He Mengxi, his body surrounded by golden inner yuan. Chapter 223. Before leaving the Ziyun planet, Zhou Dongwang already had a plan in mind. He would leave the Ziyun planet and head to the Tailao planet of the Honglio galaxy. He would go to the Lightning Sword sect to look for third senior sister He Mengxi and help her change the fate of the Lightning Sword sect so that she would not have to wander around. However, He Mengxi might not follow the path of her previous life and become the disciple of her master. As long as it was He Mengxi's choice, he would respect it. The Lightning Sword sect, the Tailao planet, and even the Honglio galaxy are enough to provide me with the best training environment before I reach the primordial soul stage. Before I reach the primordial soul stage, I will stay in the Honglio galaxy to train. This was Zhou Donghuang's plan. Zhuang. Just as many of the female disciples of the Autumn Valley were throwing flirtatious glances at Zhou Dongwang, and many of the male disciples were looking at him with jealousy, He Mengxi spoke up. Her gaze fell on the sturdy figure standing far away in the sky behind the crowd. There's an empty courtyard next to the courtyard you live in. Bring Junior Brother there and help him tidy up that courtyard. You entered the sect before little Junior Brother, so take good care of him. When He Mengxi spoke now, her tone was obviously gentler, and it felt like a spring breeze. Yes, senior sister. As he replied, Zhou Donghuang's gaze also fell on him. The muscular figure was also approaching them through the air. This was a young man who was ridiculously tall. He was about 3 meters tall, but in terms of size, it was comparable to the Dharma power of an early Dharma adept. 10 feet was equivalent to 3 meters. In the blink of an eye, the young man, who was like a giant, came to stand in front of Zhou Dongwang. He stood there like an iron tower, majestic and unmoving. He grinned, revealing 2 rows of snow-white teeth. His smile was simple and honest, even a little silly. Little Junior Brother, how are you? I am De Zhuang. Pleased to meet you. De Zhuang's body was so large that even Zhou Dongwang, who was more than 8 meters tall, seemed very small in front of him, like a child. Little Junior Brother, although De Zhuang is already 29 years old and is a golden essence adept, he has never been as smart as a normal person since he was young. Don't bully him. At this moment, He Mengxi appeared beside Zhou Donghuang in a flash and spoke in a voice that only Zhou Donghuang could hear. The seriousness in her tone made Zhou Donghuang realize that De Zhuang had a special place in his third senior sister's heart. Otherwise, how could his third senior sister be so motherly? Da Zhuang. After reminding Zhou Donghuang softly, He Mengxi looked at the giant. De Zhuang, I will be going on a long journey in the next few days. Take good care of little brother. Don't worry, senior sister. With me here, whoever dares to bully junior brother, I will definitely teach them a lesson. De Zhuang laughed like a fool. At the same time, the way Zhou Dongwang looked at De Zhuang also became gentler, and his heart skipped a beat. He must be the one that third senior sister told me about in my previous life. He was the Autumn Valley disciple who risked his life to send third senior sister to the galaxy teleporter when the lightning sword sect was destroyed. He sacrificed himself to buy time for third senior sister to be teleported. I remember third senior sister saying that his name was De Zhuang. The hazy memories of his previous life gradually became clear at this moment. In his previous life, whenever Mengshi mentioned the Autumn Valley disciple who had risked his life to save her, her eyes would shine with motherly light, and she could not help but sigh. It was also because of this that Zhou Donghuang's attitude towards De Zhuang changed subtly. "Little brother, you should go with De Zhuang," Mengshi said to Zhou Donghuang. As she finished speaking, she looked at the rest of the Autumn Valley disciples. "As for the rest of you, go back to whatever you were doing." In the Autumn Valley, in terms of seniority, Mengshi could only be considered junior. However, as the only daughter of the Autumn Valley head, Jin, she was destined to have the aura of a natural leader. Following her command, the group of Autumn Valley disciples dispersed. Of course, there were still a few female Autumn Valley disciples who winked at Zhou Dongwang before reluctantly leaving. Although there were many male disciples in the Autumn Valley, none of them caught their eye. Just based on his looks, this new junior brother was able to make their hearts race. Their hormones, which had been dormant for many years, seemed to explode at this moment. "Little brother, follow me." De Zhuang gave Zhou Dongwang a simple smile and led the way. Zhou Dongwang followed closely behind. The courtyard that De Zhuang lived in was on the same side as Mengshi's and the Autumn Valley heads, Jin's. They were all halfway up the mountain to the east of the Autumn Valley. Of course, there was still some distance between them. Halfway up the mountain, the sound of water could be heard. The water from a small waterfall splashed onto the stone platform, creating countless splashes. Behind the stone platform halfway up the mountain, there were two courtyards. Each courtyard had a spacious room, and in front of the door was a front yard planted with many flowers and plants. There was a stone table and a few stone stools in front of the table. However, compared to the clean and tidy appearance of one of the courtyards, the other was covered in a layer of dust and covered in cobwebs. "Little brother, I'll help you clean up." As soon as he finished speaking, De Zhuang tore off his sleeves and rushed into the courtyard covered in cobwebs. Zhou Dongwang had been wondering what this guy was doing with his sleeves, but he later realized that he was using his sleeves as a rag to wipe the table and the door. He's a golden essence adept after all. Is there a need to do this? Zhou Dongwang was speechless. At the same time, he realized that this blockhead's brain was not flexible. Whoosh, whoosh. As Zhou Donghuang's golden inner yuan surged out, he walked into the courtyard that De Zhuang was still cleaning. His inner yuan swept out in all directions, forming a small tornado. In the blink of an eye, all the dust and cobwebs in the courtyard were carried by his inner yuan and swirled around Zhou Donghuang. At this moment, the entire courtyard looked brand new. Whoosh! Under De Zhuang's shocked gaze, Zhou Donghuang left the stone platform in a flash and flew into the air. As he withdrew his inner yuan, the dust fell from the sky. His white robe was still as shiny as new, without a speck of dust. "Little junior brother, you're so smart. Why didn't I think of using my inner yuan to clean the courtyard?" De Zhuang followed him out and reached out to pat his head. "No wonder senior sister always says I'm stupid. I really am. Little junior brother, how can I be as smart as you?" De Zhuang stared at Zhou Dongwang. Sometimes, being smart is not a good thing. Zhou Dongwang shook his head. As the saying went, there are gains and losses. The smarter a person was, the more trouble they had. For people like De Zhuang, who had what people on Earth called gigantism and was not very bright, at least they did not have too many troubles. De Zhuang did not understand. Why is being smart not a good thing? Senior sister said that if I were smarter, my combat ability would not be so bad. Although I'm a golden essence adept, in the lightning sword sect, any golden essence adept, Even an outer disciple is no match for me. As De Zhuang spoke, he reached out and scratched his head, his face full of distress. I'm too stupid. Senior sister said that my reaction is too slow, always half a beat too slow. Slow reaction? Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. In his previous life, he had met many giants like De Zhuang. Their situations were the same as De Zhuang's, but without exception, they were all strong. Just because they were not very smart did not mean that they did not have brains. Slow reaction did not mean that they were not talented. As long as they found the right path, they could even have an advantage over ordinary people. Come, attack me, Zhou Donghuang suddenly said to De Zhuang. Huh? De Zhuang was stunned, unable to react. I want you to attack me with all your strength. Zhou Donghuang repeated. Attack you with all my strength? De Zhuang finally reacted and immediately waved his hands. Little junior brother, no. Although I can't hit other Golden Essence adepts, I can hit you. If I hit you, I'm very strong. The power of my punch is much stronger than that of ordinary Golden Essence adepts. Even they would not dare to fight me head-on. De Zhuang did not attack, as if he was afraid of hurting Zhou Donghuang. You're strong. Zhou Donghuang was stunned at first, but then he smiled lightly. That's good. I'm strong too. Since you're not attacking, I'll do it. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang moved. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang, surrounded by golden inner yuan, flew through the air. In the blink of an eye, he was near De Zhuang, and his fist, which was imbued with the inner yuan of a golden essence, flew towards De Zhuang. Golden flames surged around his fist like golden fireworks blossoming. Seeing Zhou Donghuang attack, De Zhuang was forced to attack, but he did not dare to use all his strength. After roughly gauging the strength of Zhou Donghuang's fist, he attacked with a similar amount of strength. Bang! There was a loud sound. It was De Zhuang's huge fist that collided with Zhou Donghuang's fist, and the two golden flames clashed. They were evenly matched. Little junior brother, I only used 70% of my strength. De Zhuang grinned and said to Zhou Donghuang, You're very strong indeed. Zhou Donghuang was a little surprised. The strength that De Zhuang could display with just his physical body was even stronger than that of an ordinary golden essence adept using a mid-grade spirit weapon. He was practically a natural-born fighting machine. Not only did this blockhead's body look huge, but the strength that it contained was also very strong. Furthermore, he could see that, and this was under the condition that De Zhuang had not undergone body tempering. Just by tempering his body with his inner yuan, he was able to give his body such strength. Such a person could be said to be a 1 in a million body tempering genius. Let's leave it at that. Zhou Donghuang said to De Zhuang. All right. De Zhuang smiled and withdrew his fist. Zhou Donghuang also withdrew his hand and stood upright. Looking at De Zhuang, his eyes flashed. This De Zhuang was born for body tempering techniques like the Fiery Thunder Training Regimen. Chapter 224. Just like that, Zhou Donghuang stayed in the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect. Whenever he cultivated, he would take out a large number of spiritual stones from his space ring and set up a spirit gathering formation to aid his cultivation, allowing his cultivation speed to increase. Before going to the Tianqian planet of the Le Galaxy to look for Luo Qinghan, other than the space ring left behind by a peak Dharma adept on the Honglong planet of the Tiamat Galaxy, he had also gone to other planets to find the relics of other Dharma adepts. However, the last few Dharma adepts had set up some tests. Only those who discovered the location of their relics and passed the test set up when they were alive would be able to obtain their relics. The test set up by mere Dharma adept could not be that strong. With Zhou Donghuang's current abilities and experience from his past life, he easily passed the tests and obtained the relics they had left behind. However, the things that these people had left behind to Zhou Donghuang were the spirit weapons, elixir formulas, and some low-quality elixirs in the spirit stones. With Zhou Donghuang's standards, these were not worth his attention at all. Not to mention a supreme treasure like the Soul Shaper, there was nothing that could compare in value to the Elixir King fruit. I need to quickly transform this last silver essence into a golden essence. According to the requirements of the Lord of the Four Supremes, I must first train all four primal essences in my body to the golden essence stage before I can break through to the Dharma stage. Zhou Dongwang sat on the bed in his room, his eyes shining. For most golden essence adepts to enter the early Dharma stage, the birth of a Dharma power in their golden essence is a sign that they have reached the early Dharma stage. However, for me, who practices the Lord of the Four Supremes, according to the requirements of the Lord of the Four Supremes, I need to birth all four golden essences and form a Dharma power before I can truly enter the early Dharma stage. Of course, this is the standard set by the Lord of the Four Supremes. Even if I only have one golden essence in my body that has formed a Dharma power, with that Dharma power, my abilities will not be weaker than most early Dharma adepts. Furthermore, because the Lord of the Four Supremes forms the Dharma power of the four divine beasts, I am almost invincible among Dharma adepts of the same level. What were the four divine beasts? That was a legendary, powerful divine beast that had the ability to crush stellar domains and swallow stellar rivers. It stood at the very top of the food chain. Even if the Dharma powers of the four great divine beasts only contained 1/billionth of the true power of the divine beasts, it was still not something an ordinary Dharma power could compare to. If I were to enter the early Dharma stage recognized by the Lord of the Four Supremes and condense the Dharma powers of the four divine beasts, even if all the Dharma powers are only 10 feet long, I might be able to defeat or even kill an average late Dharma adept. Zhou Dongwang muttered to himself with a gleam in his eyes. Of course, this was only his guess at the moment. As for the specifics, he would have to wait until he actually condensed the Dharma power of the four mythical beasts in the future to find out. The Lightning Sword sect now had another inner disciple. The Autumn Valley had a new disciple. Even to the disciples of the Autumn Valley, this was a small matter. As for the entire Lightning Sword sect, it was even less of a concern. However, to the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang, this was no small matter. This was because his senior sister had asked him to take good care of this little brother. There were many female disciples in the Autumn Valley, and in terms of seniority, there were quite a few who were above De Zhuang. However, he addressed them by their full names, except for He Mengshi, who he addressed directly as senior sister, without any other prefix. Little brother, if you have any needs, you can look for me at any time. Even if I'm practicing, you can interrupt me. As long as I can do anything for you, I will do my best to help you. This is because my senior sister has asked me to take care of you. Zhou Dongwang had initially had a good impression of De Zhuang because his third senior sister, He Mengshi, had mentioned him in her past life. However, in the following period of time, De Zhuang's attitude towards this 3-meter-tall giant had changed because of what He Mengshi had said to him. Zhou Dongwang had acknowledged him as a friend. This was also the first friend that Zhou Dongwang had made in the Lightning Sword sect. After De Zhuang had once again helped him buy the herbs that he needed, Zhou Dongwang was not in a hurry to collect them. He smiled and asked, De Zhuang, how did you enter the Lightning Sword sect and the Autumn Valley? The valley head and senior sister brought me in. De Zhuang smiled sheepishly. Where's your home? Is it on the Tailao planet? Zhou Dongwang asked curiously. Home? De Zhuang paused for a moment, then shook his head. I don't have a home. Ever since I could remember, my family was a group of giant apes. Of course, De Zhuang only found out later that De Zhuang was a human, and they were demonic beasts in the eyes of humans and demons. At that time, the entire group of giant apes that I was in was killed by a strong individual, and I was the only one left. That person was about to kill De Zhuang, but Senior Sister and the Valley Master happened to pass by. The Valley Master knew that expert, so he didn't want to be a busybody, but Senior Sister pitied me and insisted on saving me, so the Valley Master saved me. At this point, De Zhuang's eyes turned red, and his inner yuan started to rise. Although they were giant apes, if they had not raised me, I would have died long ago. I must avenge them. I must avenge them. After a while, De Zhuang was like a punctured balloon, completely deflated. However, that person was too strong, and it was too difficult for me to kill him to avenge them. Senior Sister said that he was a strong, primordial soul adept, and he was not much weaker than the Valley Head. If I want to kill him, it will be harder than reaching the heavens. At this point, without any warning, De Zhuang squatted down and buried his head in tears. At this point, the 3-meter-tall giant seemed to have become a crybaby. "Let me help you." Zhou Dongwang looked at De Zhuang and smiled lightly. De Zhuang stopped crying and looked up at Zhou Dongwang in disbelief. "You help me? You? How can you help me? You are not even as strong as me. How can you help me? You don't believe me?" Zhou Dongwang looked deeply at De Zhuang and asked. Meeting Zhou Donghuang's clear gaze, De Zhuang was stunned at first, but he quickly regained his composure and said seriously, "If you can avenge De Zhuang, my life will be yours." In De Zhuang's heart, senior sister is the most important, but if you can avenge me, you can be as important as senior sister. Take this cultivation method as payment for running errands for me during this period of time. Zhou Donghuang raised his hand, and a stack of paper filled with words appeared in his hand. Inner yuan flowed from his hand as he passed the paper to De Zhuang. "You should be able to read." "Yes." De Zhuang nodded, but he did not reach out to take the stack of paper that was floating in the air with Zhou Donghuang's inner yuan. "Little junior brother, you don't have to help me avenge my death. Senior sister told me to take care of you. Even if someone wants to kill you and I can't defeat him, I'll help you block him and die in front of you." If anyone else had said this, Zhou Dongwang would have thought that they were trying to win him over. However, after spending some time with De Zhuang, Zhou Dongwang knew that this silly man could not possibly be so scheming. Furthermore, although he had been in the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect for some time, he had not revealed himself, and no one knew what was so special about him. Under such circumstances, even those who were scheming would not purposely try to curry favor with him, much less a silly man like De Zhuang. To curry favor with someone, one had to have something in return, right? "If you want revenge, take this," Zhou Dongwang said lightly. "This is a technique that can be practiced all the way to the primordial soul stage. As for the technique after that, I'll give it to you when you reach the primordial soul stage." Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, De Zhuang's eyes lit up with excitement, and he could not help but raise his hand. However, just as his hand was in midair, he stopped. "Little brother, senior sister told me before that I cannot accept a reward without doing anything. I cannot accept this technique. I cannot accept a reward without doing anything." Zhou Dongwang shook his head. "Didn't you say that if I can help you take revenge, I will become the second most important person in your heart? To me, this is the best reward you can give me." Seeing that De Zhuang was still hesitating, Zhou Donghuang said, "If you do not accept this technique today, no matter what happens in the future, I will not ask you for help. In fact, I will even tell senior sister that you did not take good care of me." "Little brother, how can you do this?" De Zhuang was so anxious that his face turned red. "You can't tell senior sister like this." "No, you can't." "Then accept it." Zhou Donghuang was a little speechless. He had just taken out the Fiery Thunder training regimen, which was considered a top-notch technique in the entire universe. Everyone would fight to get their hands on it, but this blockhead had not accepted it even after so long. Okay, I'll accept it. But you can't tell senior sister that I did not take good care of you. You can't tell her," De Zhuang said anxiously. "As long as you accept this technique, practice it properly, and don't pass it on to anyone else, I will not tell your senior sister that you did not take good care of me." At this point, Zhou Donghuang realized, in this blockhead's heart, his third senior sister's opinion of him seemed to be more important than anything else. No wonder in his previous life, this blockhead had risked his life to save third senior sister. De Zhuang will practice it properly, but this technique, even senior sister cannot pass it on? De Zhuang looked at Zhou Donghuang. "As for senior sister, I have a technique that is not inferior to this one for her to practice. This technique is not suitable for her." Chapter 225. De Zhuang, this 9-ring bamboo. Who sold it to you? From the pile of herbs that De Zhuang had bought for him, Zhou Donghuang took out a herb that looked like a green bamboo. It was about the length of 2 fingers, and from top to bottom, there were 9 distinct carvings on it. It looked very special. The 9-ring bamboo was the most valuable herb that Zhou Donghuang had asked De Zhuang to buy. It was the main ingredient that he needed to produce a type of core drug, and it was also the most valuable. Of course, the price varied, and it was usually around 100 mid-quality spirit stones. 100 mid-quality spirit stones was equivalent to 10 high-quality spirit stones. The core disciples of the Lightning Sword sect could collect 10 high-quality spirit stones from the Lightning Sword sect every month. As for inner sect disciples, they had to wait 10 months before they could receive 10 high-quality spirit stones. This was because the Lightning Sword sect only gave out one high-quality spirit stone to inner sect disciples every month. As for outer sect disciples, it was even rarer. It was said that they only received 3 mid-quality spirit stones. It's the Summer Valley disciple, Pan Yilin. De Zhuang looked at the bamboo that Zhou Donghuang had specially taken out from the pile of herbs and thought for a moment before he remembered. How many spirit stones did he sell it to you? Zhou Donghuang asked again. 110 mid-grade spirit stones. De Zhuang said. He took quite a lot of spirit stones. Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed, and a cold light flashed in them. What's wrong? Although De Zhuang looked a little dumb, he still knew how to read people's expressions. Seeing Zhou Donghuang like this, he felt that something was wrong. This 9-ring bamboo. Is there something wrong with it? This is not 9-ring bamboo. Zhou Donghuang suddenly opened his eyes and shook his head. This is 6-ringed bamboo, and the other 3 lines were added by someone else. Although the 9 lines on it seem to be the same, the order of the lines is not uniform. For a normal 9-ring bamboo, the distance between each line is basically the same. Look at this. Without these 3 lines, the other 6 lines will be the same distance between each other. However, the existence of these 3 lines has broken the rules of the distance between the lines, and it has become irregular. As Zhou Donghuang spoke, he showed the 9-ringed bamboo to De Zhuang and pointed at the 3 markings on it. Although there are only 3 vein patterns between 6-ringed bamboo and 9-ringed bamboo, the difference in value is huge. A 9-ring bamboo is worth about 100 mid-tier spirit stones. If you're buying a real 9-ring bamboo, 110 mid-tier spirit stones isn't that expensive. However, this is a fake 9-ring bamboo. It's just a 6-ring bamboo. The value of the 6-ring bamboo is at most 1/10 of the 9-ring bamboo. This 6-ring bamboo is worth 10 mid-grade spirit stones at most. You have been deceived. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Aside from alchemists, not many people knew about the specific characteristics of 9-ring bamboo. In Zhou Donghuang's previous life, many people had been deceived by 6-ring bamboo. However, those who had been deceived had been laymen or average core forging masters. Even if a skilled core forging master did not know how to identify 9-ring bamboo based on this characteristic, he would still be able to identify 9-ring bamboo based on its other characteristics. All medicinal herbs of a certain age would have these subtle characteristics. Different paths lead to the same goal. 9-ring bamboo was no exception. I've been deceived. After hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, De Zhuang's face turned red and his eyes widened. Anger began to rise in the depths of his eyes. That Pan Yilin, he lied to me? He lied to me? No way. I want to find him. I want to find him. De Zhuang's eyes were bloodshot because of his anger. It was as if he had turned into a demon from hell, ready to devour anyone who saw it. Little brother, I will definitely give you an explanation for this. De Zhuang snatched the 9-ringed bamboo from Zhou Donghuang's hands. His face was red as he spoke to Zhou Donghuang. Then he hurriedly turned and left. Summer Valley disciple, Pan Yilin? Not long after De Zhuang left, Zhou Donghuang stood up and followed him out. In the Lightning Sword sect, there was a place for people of the sect to trade. Whether it was the senior members of the sect or the disciples, they could all trade here. Once an item was sold, as long as it was worth the money, it was not refundable. Of course, if you sold the item and felt that it was not worth it and wanted to buy it back, as long as the buyer did not relent, there was nothing you could do. The Lightning Sword sect's trade plaza was under the jurisdiction of the sect. It was fair, just and open. Senior Brother Lian, I sold the fake 9-ring bamboo to De Zhuang of the Autumn Valley. After this, I will definitely anger Senior Sister He Mengshi of the Autumn Valley. Senior sister He Mengxi is the only daughter of the Autumn Valley head. If she comes looking for me, you have to protect me. You can't just ignore me." On one side of the trade plaza, a young man dressed in green said to another young man dressed in a golden robe with silver trim. The former had a medium build and ordinary looks. He was the type that would be hard to find in a crowd. The latter had a tall build and handsome features. The corners of his mouth were always curled up, and there was a hint of evil in him. "Furthermore, you were the one who asked me to do this," the young man in green said fearfully. "Junior brother Pan, you don't believe me?" The young man in the golden robe glanced at the former and asked meaningfully, "You are afraid that I will sacrifice you to please junior sister He Mengxi?" No, no. Although the former did think this way, he did not dare to say it out loud. This was because the person standing in front of him was the direct disciple of the Summer Valley head. He was definitely the pride of the Summer Valley, and if he offended him, it would be difficult for him to do anything in the Summer Valley. Once he was kicked out of the Summer Valley, the other 3 valleys would not want him anymore. As long as he wanted to stay in the Lightning Sword sect, he was destined to stay in the 5 outer halls for the rest of his life, unless he could become a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. However, the conditions to become a core disciple were extremely difficult. He knew this very well. Pan Yilin. Just as the young man in green was being subservient to the young man in the golden robe, a thunderous roar suddenly came from the sky above the trade plaza. The roar contained thick inner yuan and was deafening. Instantly, the gazes of the crowd in the trade plaza all landed on the tall, burly figure in the sky above the square. This was a burly young man who was more than 3 meters tall. He was so tall that he did not even look human. As soon as he appeared, many people immediately recognized him. "It's the Zhuang of the Autumn Valley." What is this the Zhuang of the Autumn Valley trying to do? I've heard that this guy was raised by the giant ape demon. Did he learn the ferocity of the giant ape demon? Who angered him? Up in the sky, the tall, burly De Zhuang of the Autumn Valley successfully attracted everyone's attention. "De Zhuang, what are you trying to do?" The young man in green was subservient in front of the young man in the golden robe, but in front of De Zhuang, he was somewhat arrogant. He raised his head to look at De Zhuang in the sky and asked coldly. He was obviously the Summer Valley disciple that De Zhuang had come to look for, Pan Yilin. "Pan Yilin, you sold me fake 9-ring bamboo." De Zhuang descended from the sky and appeared in front of Pan Yilin in the blink of an eye. Because he was too tall and Pan Yilin was only about 7 meters tall, De Zhuang looked down at Pan Yilin and questioned him. "Fake 9-ring bamboo?" Pan Yilin raised an eyebrow. "De Zhuang, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. The 9-ring bamboo that I sold you is not fake." "It's not fake." De Zhuang's face was red as he took out the 9-ring bamboo that he had bought from Pan Yilin and showed it to everyone who had gathered to watch the commotion. Little brother said that this 9-ring bamboo is fake. The distance between the lines is irregular, and it is only 6-ring bamboo. 6-ring bamboo is worth at most 10 mid-level spirit stones, but you charged me 110 mid-level spirit stones. Do you really think that I, De Zhuang, am a pushover? De Zhuang glared at Pan Yilin angrily. His voice became deeper and deeper, and the golden inner yuan around him began to emanate uncontrollably. It was as if he would attack Pan Yilin at any time. Is that 9-ring bamboo? I don't think it's 9-ring bamboo. The lines of 9-ring bamboo should not be like this. It's a fake 9-ring bamboo, made from 6-ring bamboo. Pan Yilin actually sold a fake 9-ring bamboo to De Zhuang for 110 mid-level spirit stones? That's not very kind. Most people who do not understand 9-ring bamboo might actually be deceived by this fake 9-ring bamboo. This Pan Yilin, how dare he? In a lightning sword sect, who doesn't know that the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang, is backed by the daughter of the Autumn Valley head, He Mengxi? What he did is not against the rules of the trade center. After all, one side is willing to take the hit, and the other side is willing to take the hit. But isn't he worried that He Mengxi will come after him? Some of the onlookers had recognized that the 9-ring bamboo in De Zhuang's hands was fake, but most of them were shocked by Pan Yilin's courage. This Summer Valley disciple, who had not even reached the Dharma stage, had the guts to deceive the daughter of the Autumn Valley head? Was he not afraid of death? Dezhuang. Pan Yilin's face darkened as the crowd pointed at him. How can you prove that this is the 9-ring bamboo that I sold you? The 9-ring bamboo that I sold you is not this one. Did you take the real 9-ring bamboo and then blackmail me with a fake? Hearing Pan Yilin's accusation, Dezhuang was so angry that his face turned red. He shouted angrily, Pan Yilin, you're slandering me. I'll kill you. As he spoke, the golden inner yuan around Dezhuang's body surged, and he pounced at Pan Yilin. However, just as the golden inner yuan on Pan Yilin's body began to rise, someone else made a move even faster. With a raise of his hand, a 10-foot-tall Dharma image appeared and pressed Pan Yilin's entire body to the ground, rendering him unable to move. The person who had attacked was the young man in the golden robe beside Pan Yilin. Dezhuang, the Sect Trade Center has its own rules. It forbids disciples from fighting. The young man in the golden robe said in a low voice, It's Lian Can from the Summer Valley. Lian Can, the direct disciple of the Summer Valley head, entered the Dharma stage at the age of 26. He is also one of the most promising disciples of the younger generation of the Summer Valley to become a core disciple. The onlookers' gazes fell on the young man in the golden robe. P.S. I've been busy for the past few days, so I haven't been able to update much. End of this chapter. Chapter 2:26. Lian Can, the personal disciple of the Summer Valley head, had already entered the Dharma stage at the age of 26. A few years had passed, and it was rumored that he was not far from the mid-Dharma stage. Lian Can, Dezhuang, who was pinned to the ground by the palm of the golden-robed youth, glared angrily at him. Let go of me. I want to kill this slanderous starred. Not only did he sell me fake goods, but he also slandered me. I want to kill him. I want to kill him. Dezhuang was enraged, and he roared. Dezhuang. Faced with Dezhuang, who was so angry that he had lost his mind, Lian can only smile. What proof do you have that Pan Yilin sold you fake goods? What proof do you have that you're not slandering Pan Yilin? Lian Can's words made Dezhuang's already ugly expression turn even uglier. Lian Can, you're in cahoots with Pan Yilin. Dezhuang, there are some things you can't say. Lian Can's eyes flashed coldly as he spoke in a low voice. At the same time, the giant palm that was pressing down on Lian Can pressed down further, causing Dezhuang, who was already so angry that his blood was boiling, to spit out a mouthful of blood. Some of the blood floated back to Dezhuang's face, causing his already twisted face to look even more ferocious. Zhou Dongwang followed Dezhuang over, and his expression changed when he saw that Dezhuang was injured. Whoosh! Zhou Dongwang's figure flickered, and like a bolt of white lightning, he headed straight for Dezhuang. Seeing that he was getting closer and closer to Dezhuang, Zhou Dongwang's expression darkened as he prepared to destroy the giant palm Dharma pressing down on Dezhuang. Lian Can, retract your Dharma. Before Zhou Dongwang made his move, an old voice rang out in the trade square. The voice was not loud, but it seemed to have some sort of magical power as it clearly reached the ears of everyone in the trade square. In the next moment, an old figure walked out from behind the crowd and looked at Lian Can, who was pressing down on Dezhuang. This was an old man dressed in a long gray robe. He was thin and of medium build, and he usually looked kind and benevolent. However, when he spoke to Lian Can, his eyes flashed with a frightening light. Elder Han. A look of fear flashed in Lian Can's eyes when he saw who it was. Without saying a word, he put away his giant palm Dharma. The moment Lian Can retracted his Dharma, Dezhuang, who had regained his freedom, lunged at Pan Yilin with bloodshot eyes. Pan Yilin did not move, because he knew that there was no need to move. Dezhuang. Just as Dezhuang moved, he was once again blocked by the old man who had appeared in his path like a ghost. If you recklessly attack a fellow disciple, even that girl Mengshi won't be able to protect you. If you are expelled from the sect because of this, you will be letting down the high hopes that Mengshi has placed on you. At that time, she might regret bringing you back to the Lightning Sword sect. She might even regret meeting you and getting to know you. The old man who had stopped De Zhuang was the elder Han that Lien Can had mentioned, Han Ku. Han Ku was the elder of the Lightning Sword Sect's Lightning Peak. Although the trade center was located in the outer sect, the elders of the Lightning Sword Sect who were on duty at the trade center were, without exception, elders of the Lightning Peak. This was because the trade center was an extremely important place for the Lightning Sword Sect. Moreover, from time to time, there would be conflicts between inner sect disciples and core disciples with strong backgrounds. Not just the outer sect elders, but even the inner sect elders might not be able to intervene. Under such circumstances, the Lightning Sword Sect had sent the elders of the Lightning Peak to be on duty at the trade center. The elders of the Lightning Peak were the elders with the highest status in the Lightning Sword Sect. They were on par with the 4 valley heads of the inner sect. Moreover, the 4 valley masters of the inner sect also had a seat as an elder in the Lightning Rush Peak. Elder Han is right. At the same time that Han Ku stopped De Zhuang, Lien Kan smiled and looked at De Zhuang. De Zhuang, I heard that junior sister Mingxi recently went on a long trip. Are you thinking that when she returns, she will know that you have been expelled from the sect? After De Zhuang had been stopped by the Lightning Peak elder on duty at the trade center, he had not given up on the idea of attacking Pan Yilin. But now, after hearing Han Ku's words, he was stunned for a while before he came back to his senses and muttered to himself in a daze, Senior sister? Senior sister? No, I can't let senior sister down. But senior sister asked me to take good care of junior brother, but I can't even do such a small thing. If senior sister finds out, she will not be happy. De Zhuang stood rooted to the ground, his expression changing as he wavered. De Zhuang. At this time, Han Ku continued, the trade center has its rules. One party pays the money, and the other party delivers the goods. Once the money and the goods have been cleared, there will be no further dealings. Let's not talk about the truth of this matter for now. Only you know the truth. Even if Pan Yilin really did lie to you, according to the rules of the trade center and the rules of the sect, you are destined to suffer in silence. During the trade, if you found out that there was something wrong with the 9-ring bamboo, you could have refused to trade. If you did not find out, you could only blame it on your bad luck. It's not just you. Even I, and even Mengxi, are the same. You just take it as buying a lesson. Han Ku was on good terms with the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, and he treated He Mengxi like a daughter. Naturally, he was very patient with De Zhuang. Otherwise, if it were any other Lightning Peak elder here, even if he had to consider He Mengxi and He Jin who was behind her and give He Jin some face, he would not have been so patient. But the 9-ring bamboo was bought by junior brother, and the 110 mid-level spirit stones are also junior brothers. Hearing Han Ku's words, De Zhuang calmed down, but he was still a little anxious. I don't have that many spirit stones to return to junior brother. Seeing that De Zhuang had calmed down, Han Ku heaved a sigh of relief and shook his head with a smile. It's only 110 mid-level spirit stones. I'll return them for you. To a Spring Thunder Peak elder like Han Ku, over 100 medium spiritual stones were nothing. In fact, the number of spirit stones that the Lightning Sword Sect gave him every month was even more than this. No, I can't accept it. De Zhuang shook his head resolutely. I'll go talk to junior brother. When I've collected 11 high-quality spirit stones, I'll return them to him. Although inner sect disciples of the Lightning Sword Sect could collect 1 high-quality spirit stone every month, De Zhuang's high-quality spirit stones were all used up. However, the superior-grade spirit stones in De Zhuang's hands were basically all used up not long after they were distributed. He had no other way to earn spirit stones, so he was in dire need of them. De Zhuang, you don't have to return those spirit stones. Just then, Zhou Donghuang, who had already landed on the ground, walked forward and spoke to De Zhuang. Junior brother, you're here too? Seeing Zhou Donghuang, De Zhuang was first stunned, then his face was full of guilt. Junior brother, I'm sorry. I'll definitely collect those spirit stones and return them to you. I cannot return them. Zhou Donghuang knew that De Zhuang had a one-track mind, so he did not pursue the matter further. He turned to look at Elder Han Ku of the Lightning Peak. Elder Han, From what you said just now, you mean even if it is a fake, as long as it can be sold at the trading center after the money is paid for, the person who bought the fake can only blame it on his bad luck. This is also a rule that is protected by the sect? Zhou Dongwang asked directly. You're the young fellow who recently joined the Autumn Valley? Because he was close to the Autumn Valley head, Jin, Han Ku also knew that the Autumn Valley had recently recruited a new disciple. That's right. Faced with Zhou Dongwang's question, Han Ku nodded. The sect set up this rule in the hopes that the disciples will learn more within the sect, so that they won't be taken advantage of outside. It's not a bad thing to suffer a little more. Furthermore, being able to sell fake goods within the sect is also considered a skill to a certain extent, Han Ku said. Zhou Dongwang nodded. I understand. Zhou Dongwang nodded, then casually glanced at the Summer Valley disciples, Lien Kan and Pan Yilin. After looking away, he said to De Zhuang, let's go back. All right. De Zhuang agreed and left with Zhou Dongwang. The huge trade center once again regained its peace. To the people of the Lightning Sword sect present, this was just a small interlude. That young fellow, just now, is he the new disciple who recently joined the Autumn Valley? I think he's called Zhou. Zhou something Huang? Lien Kan looked at Pan Yilin and asked with a slight frown. I think so. Pan Yilin nodded. I heard from the people of the Autumn Valley that the new disciple, Zhou Dongwang, is extremely handsome, dressed in robes whiter than snow, and has an extraordinary aura. Seeing him today, the rumors are true. Why? You think he's outstanding? Lien Kan's gaze became unfriendly. If I remember correctly, he was brought into the Autumn Valley by Sister Mingxi. As soon as he said this, Lien Xiu's expression turned cold, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Mingxi was his exclusive property. He would not allow any man other than her father to get close to her. De Zhuang was the first. Now, there was a second. He would not let any of them go. Lien Kan's words caused Pan Yilin's expression to change, and he hurriedly tried to salvage the situation. Although he can be considered outstanding compared to you, senior brother Lien, he is still far from it. After Pan Yilin's flattery, Lien Xiu's expression softened a little. On the way back to the Autumn Valley, Zhou Dongwang said to De Zhuang, the next few days, go to the trade center again. Record down everything that the people of the Summer Valley have placed a bounty on and pass it to me. The trade center of the Lightning Sword sect not only allowed for face-to-face transactions, but also allowed people to place a bounty on rare items. Of course, the price of the bounty had to be at least double the original price of the item. Otherwise, there was no way to enter the bounty list in the trade center. Okay, although he did not know what little junior brother needed this for, De Zhuang agreed readily. End of this chapter. Chapter 227. The Summer Valley disciple Pan Yilin had sold cheap 6-ring bamboo as 9-ring bamboo to De Zhuang, accusing him of slandering him. This had angered De Zhuang so much that he wanted to kill him. But Zhou Dongwang? Was he angry? Of course he was. If he could, he would have killed those 2 Summer Valley disciples. However, his rationality kept him awake. It was easy to kill them, but to escape unscathed was harder than reaching the heavens. The elders of the Lightning Peak are at least late primordial soul adepts. I just killed those 2, and I'm afraid I'll die at Han Ku's hands. Even if Han Ku doesn't kill me, he'll definitely capture me and hand me over to the sect. When that happens, I'll still be dead. Because he knew this, Zhou Dongwang was very calm when he was in the market. Of course, Zhou Dongwang was not one to lose out. You people of the Summer Valley want to play? Then I, Zhou Dongwang, will play with you. Counterfeiting? When I was counterfeiting, who knows where you were? Oh, that did not seem to be the case, or rather, when I was counterfeiting in my previous life, who knows where you were in this life? 2 days later, De Zhuang handed a piece of paper to Zhou Dongwang. There were more than 10 lines of crooked words on the paper. The words were big and small, and it was not wrong to say that they were scribbles. And this was De Zhuang's handwriting. De Zhuang, you haven't been learning to write for long, right? Zhou Dongwang asked. Yes. De Zhuang nodded and smiled. 2 years ago, after senior sister brought me back, I only started learning to write. My handwriting is not very good, little brother. As he spoke, De Zhuang scratched his head in embarrassment. Indeed, Zhou Dongwang understood, and his gaze returned to the paper in his hand. Although De Zhuang's handwriting was ugly, it could still be read clearly. Moreover, he had asked De Zhuang to copy it. If he could get it wrong, then he really had no choice but to make another trip to the market. He was prepared for the worst. And this was a habit that Zhou Dongwang had developed in his previous life, to be prepared for danger in times of peace. Little junior brother, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. Seeing that Zhou Dongwang was staring at the paper for a long time without saying anything, De Zhuang said, I will return the 11 superior grade spirit stones I owe you as soon as possible. Let's not talk about spirit stones for now. Zhou Dongwang looked away and said to De Zhuang, Next, help me buy a few more things. Little junior brother, you still want me to help you buy things? Aren't you afraid that I'll buy a fake one again? De Zhuang glared at him. Don't worry. Zhou Dongwang smiled lightly. This time, the things I want you to buy are not anything good, and they are cheap. All in all, they are worth at most 10 mid-quality spirit stones. No one would waste time to fake those things. With that, Zhou Dongwang took out 20 mid-quality spirit stones and handed them to De Zhuang. It was not that he did not want to give more spirit stones to De Zhuang, but De Zhuang was too stubborn and did not want to accept spirit stones. The first time De Zhuang went to buy something for him, he wanted to give De Zhuang some money for running errands, but he was rejected. He insisted, and De Zhuang almost fell out with him. Zhou Dongwang could only give up. This kind of simple-minded fool was no different from a cow when he was stubborn. You can go now, Zhou Dongwang said as he handed the spirit stones to De Zhuang. All right. De Zhuang took the spirit stones and left. Seeing that Zhou Dongwang seemed to be in a hurry, De Zhuang left the Autumn Valley as soon as he left the room. At the same time, in various parts of the Autumn Valley, many people were talking about how De Zhuang had been deceived by a disciple of the valley. Who in the Autumn Valley does not know De Zhuang's character? He could not have lied. That disciple, Pan Yilin, has gone too far. It's a pity that even if we know that De Zhuang has been deceived, there is nothing we can do. The sect will not interfere in such matters. When junior sister Mengxi returns and finds out about this, she will not let the matter rest. There are not many disciples in the Autumn Valley. Although there were occasional conflicts between them, no matter who it was, if they were bullied by an inner disciple of another valley, the other disciples would not let the matter rest. However, this time, Pan Yilin had deceived De Zhuang, but it was not against the rules of the sect. Under such circumstances, although they felt that it was unfair for De Zhuang, there was nothing they could do. I curse those be*stards of the Summer Valley to always buy fake goods in the future, the kind where they lose all their hard-earned money. When Zhou Dongwang had first arrived at the Autumn Valley, Huang Long, the Autumn Valley disciple who had brought Zhou Dongwang to see He Mengxi, cursed in front of a few other Autumn Valley disciples. If Zhou Dongwang had been here and heard Huang Long's words, he would have given him a thumbs up. God prophecy. The things that Zhou Dongwang had asked De Zhuang to buy were the things that he had prepared to fake. In his previous life, after he had left Earth, before he had become the disciple of the same master as He Mengxi, he had been in dire need of spirit stones. Not only did he lack spirit stones for training, but he also needed spirit stones to buy things. Under such circumstances, he had gone crazy trying to earn spirit stones. Just when he was in dire need of spirit stones and was preparing to go to the demon forest to hunt for spirit stones, he happened to see an ultimate Dharma adept fighting with a Dharma demon in the forest. The Dharma demon was killed, but the ultimate Dharma adept was also on the verge of death. Before he died, Zhou Dongwang had thought that he could be saved, so he had tried to help him, but he had not been able to save him. However, seeing that Zhou Dongwang had not only not taken the opportunity to kill him, but had also taken his space ring and saved him, the adept had told Zhou Dongwang where he had hidden his treasures before he died. He had even explained to Zhou Dongwang the most valuable treasure that he had placed in the treasure trove was an ancient manual. In the manual, there were various methods of forging treasures. If one studied it to a high level, they could even deceive the heavens. At that time, even an adept at the celestial stage would not be able to easily see through it. With the forging methods recorded in the manual, just by looking at the surface and testing the waters, it was enough to pass off as the real thing. However, a fake was a fake, and it could not be used as the real thing. Even so, with the methods recorded in the ancient manual, Zhou Dongwang had still managed to swindle quite a number of spirit stones in his previous life. Of course, he did not easily cheat people. Those who were cheated by him were either evil people, heartless people, or merciless people. In short, he had never cheated a good person. Even though he did not think of himself as a good person, he still had a bottom line, and he felt that he had to abide by it. Although he did not think of himself as a good person, Zhou Donghuang had never thought of abandoning himself. Don't you Summer Valley disciples like to sell fake goods? You Summer Valley disciples dare to press third senior sister's savior to the ground. Do you think I, Zhou Donghuang, do not exist? Since the Summer Valley wants to play, then I, Zhou Donghuang, will play with you. 10 days later, Zhou Donghuang did not say goodbye to the Zhuang. He left the Autumn Valley alone and went to the Lightning Sword Sex Trade Center. On this trip to the trade center, Zhou Donghuang was very low-key. In a remote corner of the trade center, he set up a small stall with more than 10 items placed on it. Then, he sat behind a small stall and closed his eyes to rest while stealing some free time to cultivate. Brother, how much are you selling this for? After about a quarter of an hour, Zhou Donghuang heard an energetic voice. With Zhou Donghuang's hearing ability, he could even hear the suppressed excitement in this voice. The other party was intentionally suppressing his emotions. I've taken the bait. Suddenly, Zhou Donghuang opened his eyes and looked at the person standing in front of the stall. It was a middle-aged man. Looking at the snowflake symbol on his chest, it was obvious that he was an Inner Sect disciple and a Winter Valley disciple at that. What do you want? Zhou Donghuang blinked lazily and asked casually. This? The middle-aged man pointed at a piece of jade on the stall. This piece of jade was covered with blood vessels, and when he looked at it, the blood vessels seemed to move at that moment. And this was the mark of frozen blood jade. This is frozen blood jade. It can be used to forge spirit weapons and also to refine core drugs. Zhou Donghuang said lazily, I won't charge you extra spirit stones. 20 superior grade spirit stones, a fixed price. The middle-aged man's eyes narrowed. This person in front of him actually recognized frozen blood jade? Since he recognized it, did he not know that a Summer Valley disciple had offered a reward of 50 superior grade spirit stones for this frozen blood jade a month ago? It's most likely that he hasn't looked at the bounty list recently. The middle-aged man thought to himself. At the same time, his heart was burning. Looks like I'm going to be lucky today. All right, 20 superior grade spirit stones. I'll take it. The middle-aged man did not bargain and took out the spirit stones from his space ring and handed them to Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang took them and reminded him, inspect the goods. Once you take it away, we'll be done with each other. No need to inspect. The middle-aged man shook his head and smiled as he picked up the frozen blood jade. Only frozen blood jade has such characteristics. I've never heard of anyone being able to forge frozen blood jade. As he spoke, he kept the frozen blood jade and looked at the next item. Brother, how much for this? This time, a hint of surprise flashed in the depths of the middle-aged man's eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. Such a coincidence? Another item offered by a Summer Valley disciple? This is 1,000-year redwood, Zhou Donghuang said. I didn't intend to sell it at first. After all, it's rare to see such a complete and long piece of 1,000-year redwood, but I've been short of spirit stones recently, so I can only reluctantly part with it. Hearing the name of the item that Zhou Donghuang had pointed out, the middle-aged man sighed in his heart. It looked like there was no way he could buy this item cheaply. Brother, how much do you intend to sell it for? The middle-aged man asked. End of this chapter. Chapter 228. 30 superior quality spirit stones. Zhou Donghuang said. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the middle-aged Winter Valley disciple completely gave up on the idea of buying the 1,000-year redwood cheaply. Brother, can you make it cheaper? The Winter Valley disciple smiled. Look, I just spent 20 superior quality spirit stones to buy the frozen blood jade from you. Not negotiable. Zhou Dongwang glanced at the Winter Valley disciple. All right. The Winter Valley disciple was a little helpless, but he still wanted to buy it. Brother, I don't have enough spirit stones. Can you wait for me for a while? I'll go borrow some from someone. 1 hour. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Dongwang put away the 1,000-year redwood. I'll be back in 1 hour. The Winter Valley disciple replied and hurriedly flew in the direction of the Winter Valley. It was obvious that he was going back to the Winter Valley to borrow spirit stones. I just hope that in this 1 hour, he won't look at the bounty list. Otherwise, he will definitely sell the 1,000-year redwood to that Summer Valley disciple himself. That Summer Valley disciple is offering 80 superior quality spirit stones for the 1,000-year redwood. On the way back to the Winter Valley disciple prayed in his heart. However, he was doomed to be overthinking. Zhou Dongwang had long known what the Summer Valley disciple had offered on the bounty list. Otherwise, he would not have had the frozen blood jade and the 1,000-year redwood. These two items had been forged using cheap materials. Unless the frozen blood jade and the 1,000-year redwood were used up, it was usually impossible to tell whether they were real or fake. One had to know that the fake ancient book that Zhou Dongwang had obtained in his previous life was a treasure in the secular universe. Zhou Dongwang had even used the forging methods in the book to deceive many heavenly adepts. It's a pity that out of the 10 or so items that the Summer Valley disciple has offered as a reward, only 9 can be forged. The rest are either not easy to forge or cannot be forged with the Samadhi fire. I must use the Samadhi fire. Although Zhou Dongwang had formed 3 golden essences and was not far from forming 4, he was still a primal core adept. The true fire that he condensed with his true essence was still the true Samadhi fire. In order to condense the true fire of Samadhi, he had to at least let one of the golden elixirs in his dantian be born and condense the Dharma form. Otherwise, it would be useless even if he condensed 4 golden elixirs. Of course, if he wanted any of the golden cores in his body to form a Dharma form, he would first have to cultivate 4 golden cores. Only by forming 4 golden essences would one be able to break through to the Dharma stage. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to reach the Dharma stage. This was the characteristic of the Lord of the 4 Supremes, an irreversible characteristic. I'll sell 2 of them first. Then, I'll try to sell the other 7 today. Zhou Dongwang thought. Zhou Dongwang had given the Winter Valley disciple an hour's time, and the disciple had returned 15 minutes earlier. At the same time, he handed the spirit stones to Zhou Dongwang. Junior brother, here are 30 high-quality spirit stones. Count them. That's right. After Zhou Dongwang put away the spirit stones, he took out the 1,000-year redwood and handed it to the Winter Valley disciple. Check it out. The Winter Valley disciple picked up the 1,000-year redwood and examined it carefully. Finally, he nodded and said, "No problem. Thank you, junior brother." With that, the Winter Valley disciple bade farewell to Zhou Dongwang and left. As he left, his face and eyes were filled with uncontrollable excitement. With these 2 items, he will be able to earn 80 high-quality spirit stones in a single transaction. Furthermore, it had taken him less than half a day. Just as the Winter Valley disciple was in a hurry to find the 2 people from the Summer Valley and earn 80 high-quality spirit stones, Zhou Dongwang took out another 2 items from his pocket. Not long after, another person took the bait. This time, 2 people took the bait. They looked at each other and did not say anything. With tacit understanding, they each bought one of the items. These 2 items were materials that the Summer Valley had placed a bounty on the bounty list. One of the items could earn 120 high-quality spirit stones. The other item could allow one to earn 50 upper-grade spirit stones. After the 2 bought the items, they walked some distance away. After confirming that Zhou Dongwang could not hear them, they whispered to each other. "That junior brother, I'm afraid you haven't looked at the bounty list in a long time, right? He actually took these 2 items out to sell. Furthermore, he's selling them at the market price." One of them shook his head and sighed, but his eyes shone with excitement. The other person took out 15 superior grade spirit stones and handed them to the first person. Although I didn't expose you, you didn't expose me either. I'll give you 15 superior grade spirit stones. This way, I'll earn 35 superior grade spirit stones, and you'll earn 35 superior grade spirit stones. Thank you, senior brother Lon. The former took the spirit stones and thanked him profusely. Let's go. Let's go find the two people from the Summer Valley and sell these items to them. The latter called out to the former and took the lead, his face glowing. I never thought that there would be such a good opportunity to earn spirit stones. Furthermore, we can earn 35 high-quality spirit stones in a single transaction. Under normal circumstances, it would take us a full 3 years to collect 36 high-quality spirit stones from the sect. From the latter's words, it was obvious that the two were inner sect disciples. Senior brother Lon, will that junior brother find trouble with us? The former asked worriedly. Don't worry, the latter said nonchalantly. The trade center has its own rules. Money and goods are cleared. Furthermore, we have paid the full amount of spirit stones. We have no obligation to remind him that there are people on the bounty list who are offering a high price for those two items. Some time ago, Autumn Valley disciple De Zhuang bought fake 9-ring bamboo that Summer Valley disciple Panyilin sold. De Zhuang was cheated of hundreds of medium-quality spirit stones, but nothing happened to him. The trade center has its own rules. We exchanged money with him, and no one can go back on their word. The former finally relaxed. Speaking of which, Autumn Valley disciple De Zhuang is really unlucky. 100 medium-quality spirit stones is equivalent to 10 high-quality spirit stones. The two of them thought that Zhou Dongwang would not be able to hear their conversation due to the distance. However, because of the Lord of the Four Supremes, Zhou Dongwang's eyesight and hearing abilities were enhanced every time he increased his level of practice. He was able to hear their conversation even though they were separated by a great distance. In response, he only shook his head and smiled. The two of them were just two chess pieces in his plan. Let's continue. For the rest of the day, Zhou Dongwang continued to sell the remaining forgeries. By evening, he had finally sold the 9th forgery. At this time, he could call it a day and return to the Autumn Valley. In the next 2 days, the Summer Valley will be bustling with activity. On the way back to the Autumn Valley, Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly, as if he had done something unimportant that day. To him, it was indeed unimportant. Although it had taken him 10 days to complete the 9 forgeries, that was because he had spent most of his time practicing and had only used a short break to forge the items that the people in the valley had offered. The most important thing now is to form the 4th golden essence. Only then can I break through to the Dharma stage. Otherwise, I won't even be able to touch the threshold of the Dharma stage, let alone the Dharma stage. Zhou Dongwang, who practiced the Lord of the Four Supremes, would only be able to touch the threshold of the Dharma stage after forming the 4th golden essence. After Zhou Dongwang returned to the Autumn Valley, he prepared to return to his room in the courtyard to practice. When he returned, he found a Zhuang chatting with a few people in the courtyard next door. The conversation was about the few people comforting De Zhuang. Zhou Dongwang had some impression of these people. They were all disciples of the Autumn Valley. Little brother is back. When Zhou Dongwang returned to his room in the courtyard, De Zhuang also noticed him. Sensing De Zhuang's gaze, Zhou Dongwang nodded at him and landed in his courtyard. As for the others, he completely ignored them. Seeing this, the faces of the few people beside De Zhuang darkened slightly. This Zhou Dongwang really doesn't know how to be polite. Don't you know how to greet your brothers? The few Autumn Valley disciples beside De Zhuang were all young men, full of vigor and vitality. Ever since Zhou Dongwang had come to the Autumn Valley, they had realized that when the young female disciples gathered together, they no longer talked about them. They only talked about the new Autumn Valley disciple, Zhou Dongwang. This made them feel that their limelight had been stolen by Zhou Dongwang. So in their hearts, they were more or less jealous of Zhou Dongwang. Brothers, don't speak ill of little brother, De Zhuang said with a frown. Little brother is a very good person. You can't say bad things about him. De Zhuang, we didn't say bad things about him? Because De Zhuang was close to the princess of the Autumn Valley, the few male disciples present were very polite to him. We were just saying that he doesn't know how to be polite. When he sees us, he doesn't even greet us as brothers. Exactly. He's nowhere near as polite as you, De Zhuang. We are here discussing how to stand up for De Zhuang. But what about him? A new disciple who just arrived? I don't know what he's doing outside. He came back so late, and once he came back, he rushed back to his room. It seems like he doesn't care at all if De Zhuang is being bullied by the Summer Valley disciples. Hearing the male disciples of the Autumn Valley talk about Zhou Dongwang without a care in the world, De Zhuang's face turned red with anger. He growled unhappily, "Brothers, little brother is not what you say he is. If you say bad things about him again, I'll cut all ties with you." De Zhuang was clearly infuriated by their words. The Autumn Valley male disciples had not expected De Zhuang to react so strongly. They looked at each other awkwardly, then left dejectedly. Of course, as they turned to leave, their eyes were filled with disdain and disgust. If not for the fact that they wanted to use De Zhuang as a springboard to curry favor with the princess of the Autumn Valley, they would not have bothered to make friends with De Zhuang. End of this chapter. Chapter 229. At the same time that Zhou Dongwang returned to the Autumn Valley, the Summer Valley, a middle-aged man with a medium build and a handsome face flew into the Summer Valley. He was in high spirits, and it was not difficult to see how happy he was. "Brother Zhong, look at you. Is something good happening?" A young man who was preparing to leave the Summer Valley asked the middle-aged man with a smile. "Ha!" The middle-aged man laughed. "Indeed, something good has happened. The 1,000-year redwood that I have placed a bounty on for 2 months at the trade center has finally been sold." 1,000-year redwood. The young man was shocked. That is a priceless item. Even if the price was 2 or 3 times higher, people would still buy it. "Brother Zhong, you are indeed lucky. All right, let's not talk about this for now. I am in a hurry to hand this item over to my teacher so that he can help me forge an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon." As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, he flew into the depths of the Summer Valley. The Summer Valley was also a vast valley. However, it was different from the Autumn Valley, which was filled with the scent of autumn. Everything in the Summer Valley was filled with the scent of summer. This was how the Summer Valley got its name. It's fake. It's actually fake. Not long after the middle-aged man with the surname Zhong returned to the Summer Valley, a figure broke through the door of a courtyard halfway up the mountain, his face full of anger. "That by leeching of the Winter Valley actually dared to sell me fake frozen blood jade. Damn it. Damn it. I want to get even with him. I want to get even with him." This disciple of the Summer Valley, whose face was filled with rage, was a tall and sturdy middle-aged man. He had the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear, and he was extremely angry. Standing there, he was like an angry King Kong. He was a disciple of the Summer Valley, Fong Bai Wei, a mid-Dharma adept. The people in the nearby courtyards heard the commotion and immediately left their courtyards. "Brother Fong, what's wrong?" They lived close to Fong Bai Wei and interacted frequently with him, so the Summer Valley disciples in the nearby courtyards were on good terms with Fong Bai Wei. After a while, when they heard what had happened from Fong Bai Wei, they were also angry. "That by leeching of the Winter Valley, how dare he sell fake frozen blood jade to Brother Fong? Let's go. Let's get even with him." "Yes, let's get even with him." Fong Bai Wei led a few disciples of the Summer Valley and left the Summer Valley aggressively, heading straight for the Winter Valley. After learning that by leeching, a disciple of the Winter Valley had not returned to the Winter Valley, they went to the market and found Bai Liqing there. Bai Liqing was the first person to receive the 2 items from Zhou Dongwang. They were the frozen blood jade and the 1,000-year redwood. Now, regardless of whether it was the frozen blood jade or the 1,000-year redwood, he had already sold them to the disciples of the Summer Valley and earned 80 high-quality spirit stones. With this large sum of upper-grade spirit stones, he strolled around the trading square a few times, preparing to buy some things that he was reluctant to buy in the past. Suddenly, Bai Liqing realized that the Summer Valley disciple, Fong Bai Wei, who had bought the frozen blood jade, was rushing towards him with a few other people. "Bai Liqing." Before Fong Bai Wei even got close, he had already shouted, "I, Fong Bai Wei, have never offended you, but you actually sold me fake frozen blood jade?" "Fake frozen blood jade?" Bai Liqing looked at Fong Bai Wei, who was right in front of him, and frowned. Then he said calmly, Fong Baiwei, what nonsense are you talking about? The frozen blood jade I sold you as a transaction of money and goods. At that time, you even checked it carefully and confirmed that it was indeed frozen blood jade. Now, you brought the frozen blood jade back and only came to find me after half a day, and now you're telling me that it was fake? What? Are you playing with me? As he spoke, Bai Liqing's gaze became unfriendly. Bai Liqing, you're looking for trouble. Fong Baiwei's expression was cold as he said in a low voice, I think you're the one looking for trouble. Bai Liqing looked at Fong Baiwei coldly. You said that the frozen blood jade I bought you is fake. Do you have any proof? Take out the frozen blood jade and let everyone verify it to see if it's fake. Bai Liqing countered. Hearing Bai Liqing's words, Fong Baiwei's expression became even uglier. Fong Baiwei, I think you're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Don't you know that the frozen blood jade is only for verification? It's impossible to tell if it's fake. It will only turn to ashes when it comes into contact with the fourth true fire. No one would use the fourth true fire to test the authenticity of the frozen blood jade. This was because once the frozen blood jade came into contact with the fourth true fire, it would be affected. It would not be used for alchemy or weapon forging for a short period of time. It would become a worthless piece of ordinary jade. Turn to ashes? Bai Liqing laughed. Based on what you're saying, you can't even produce the frozen blood jade that you claim to be fake? What a joke! Some time ago, Pan Yilin, a disciple of the Summer Valley, was suspected of using 6-ring bamboo to pass it off as 9-ring bamboo to sell to the Zhuang, a disciple of the Autumn Valley. At least the Zhuang managed to produce a fake. Now, the people of the Summer Valley say that I'm selling fake goods, but I can't even produce a fake? At this point, Bai Liqing's smile disappeared. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Fong Baiwei, if you have the guts, you can make a move on me. You want to extort me? It's not that easy. Bai Liqing shouted coldly. Fong Baiwei's expression changed. He wanted to make a move, but he was stopped by a few disciples of the Autumn Valley. The crowd of disciples of the Lightning Sword sect could not help but point fingers at him. Senior Bai Liqing is right. He can't even produce any evidence. Why does he have to say that Senior Bai Liqing is selling fake goods? He has no evidence at all. The people of the Summer Valley are too shameless. Today, Fong Baiwei has no evidence to slander Bai Liqing. Some time ago, De Zhuang from the Autumn Valley clearly produced evidence, but Pan Yilin, a disciple of the Summer Valley, used it against him. Han Ku even said that even if Pan Yilin was selling fake goods, De Zhuang could only blame himself for not knowing what was good for him. According to the rules of the sect, once the goods and the money have been settled, there will be no further dealings. According to the rules of the sect, Fong Baiwei has no evidence today. Even if he had evidence and the fake goods were sold by Bai Liqing, he could not do anything to Bai Liqing. According to the rules of the sect, he is the one who is blind and cannot blame anyone else. Hearing the comments of the crowd of disciples of the Lightning Sword sect, Fong Baiwei's face darkened. He looked at Bai Liqing as if he wanted to eat him alive. Bai Liqing, I admit defeat this time. In the future, don't ever fall into my hands again, or I will never let you off. Fong Baiwei glared hatefully at Bai Liqing. Then, with a belly full of anger, he left with a few disciples of the Summer Valley. Anytime, Bai Liqing said nonchalantly. At this point, everyone present felt that Fong Baiwei was trying to blackmail Bai Liqing. Otherwise, why could he not produce any evidence? If the Summer Valley disciple, Pan Yilin, really lied to the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang, and what happened today, the disciples of the Summer Valley are really shameless. At this point, many of the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect present felt this way. After Fong Baiwei had caused such a ruckus, Bai Liqing was no longer in the mood to continue strolling around the trade center. He took the 80 high-quality spirit stones that he had earned that day and happily returned to the Winter Valley. The Winter Valley was also a valley, and it was a world of ice and snow. White snow covered the ground, and the waterfalls and lakes were all frozen. Brother Bai Liqing, looking at your glowing face, it seems like something good happened today. Bai Liqing had just returned to his courtyard when a skinny middle-aged man flew out from a nearby courtyard. He looked like an ordinary person, but his eyes were sharp. He smiled and said to Bai Liqing, "Ha, Brother Zhang, I'll treat you to a drink tomorrow. The 12-flower wine is more than enough." Bai Liqing laughed. This disciple of the Winter Valley was the closest person to him in the entire East Valley, and he saw him as a brother. 12-flower wine. The skinny middle-aged man's eyes lit up. "Not bad. It's rare for you to be so generous. I remember that I've treated you to more than 10 drinks of the 12-flower wine, but you've only treated me twice, right? Furthermore, those 2 times I was the one who asked you to drink, and you were unwilling." As he spoke, the skinny middle-aged man's tone became slightly sarcastic. Bai Liqing laughed awkwardly. That was because money was tight in the past. "Brother Zhang, as long as you want from tomorrow onwards, I'll treat you to half a month's worth of 12-flower wine." The 12-flower wine was a type of wine produced by the Spring Valley of the Lightning Sword sect. It was brewed from 12 different types of spirit flowers. Normally, a jar of 12-flower wine was sold for 1 high-quality spirit stone per jar, which was equivalent to the spirit stones that an inner sect disciple received from the sect every month. A normal inner sect disciple would not be able to afford such a wine. However, the 12-flower wine was very strong, and even Dharma adepts would not dare to drink an entire jar in a day. There was once a Dharma adept who drank an entire jar of 100-flower wine in a day and slept for 7 days and 7 nights before waking up. 2 Dharma adepts could only share 1 jar of 12-flower wine in a day. Half a month. The skinny middle-aged man's eyes lit up. "Brother Bai Liqing, did you strike it rich?" "Yes, I made a small fortune." Bai Liqing laughed and casually took out 20 high-quality spirit stones and returned them to the skinny middle-aged man. "Brother Zhang, these are the spirit stones I borrowed from you this morning. I'm returning them to you." "Brother Bai Liqing, are you trying to tell me that you borrowed 20 high-quality spirit stones from me this morning to strike it rich?" The skinny middle-aged man asked meaningfully after keeping the spirit stones. Before Bai Liqing could reply, he heard an angry roar. "Bai Liqing, you bastard! How dare you sell fake 1,000-year redwood to me?" Bai Liqing turned around and saw a middle-aged man with a medium build and a handsome face walking towards him. Zhongyin? Zhongyin, a Summer Valley disciple, was also the person who had bought the 1,000-year redwood from him today. Fake 1,000-year redwood? Bai Liqing's face darkened. These Summer Valley disciples were not done yet? What's going on? The skinny middle-aged man standing beside Bai Liqing was confused. "Brother Zhang, these people from the Summer Valley are really shameless. First, it was Feng Baiwei who said that I sold him fake frozen blood jade. Now this Zhong Yin is saying that I sold him fake 1,000-year redwood." Bai Liqing's face was full of anger. Do they really think that I'm a pushover? End of this chapter. Chapter 230. Zhong Yin was a disciple of the Summer Valley and a late Dharma adept. He was also the disciple of an elder of the Summer Valley. An elder of the Summer Valley was also an inner elder of the Lightning Sword sect. In the Lightning Sword sect, to become an inner elder, one had to be at least a mid-primordial soul adept. This was also the minimum requirement to become an inner elder. As for entering the Lightning Peak and becoming an elder, the requirements were even more stringent. One had to be at least at the late primordial soul stage. As for becoming an outer elder, one only had to be at the early primordial soul stage. In other words, in a Lightning Sword sect, even the most ordinary outer sect elder had to be at least at the primordial soul stage of cultivation. Bai Liqing. Zhong Yin floated to a spot not far from Bai Liqing and stared at him fiercely. In a low voice, he asked, "I, Zhong Yin, have never offended you, have I? How dare you sell me fake 1,000-year redwood?" He had spent 80 high-quality spirit stones to buy a fake piece of 1,000-year redwood. We first found out, Zhong Yin was furious. Originally, after coming to the Winter Valley for some time, his anger had subsided. But now, seeing Bai Liqing, his anger flared up again. It was like a prairie fire that could not be controlled. "Zhong Yin, are all the people of the Summer Valley sick?" Bai Liqing's face darkened as he said, "First, it was Feng Baiwei who said that the frozen blood jade I sold him was fake. Now you come to me and say that the 1,000-year redwood I sold you is fake. Are you going to be like Feng Baiwei and say that you have no evidence and that the 1,000-year redwood was destroyed because it came into contact with real fire? As he spoke, Bai Liqing was also a little exasperated. Of course, deep in Bai Liqing's eyes, there was a hint of fear. After all, Zhong Yin was different from Fang Baiwei. Not to mention the fact that Zhong Yin had an intersect elder as his master. Zhong Yin's cultivation was also slightly stronger than his. You even sold frozen blood jade to Brother Fang? Zhong Yin frowned. Furthermore, Brother Fang said that the frozen blood jade was fake. The moment the true fire touches it, it disintegrated into ashes. Bai Liqing snorted coldly and sneered. The people of the Summer Valley are obviously colluding with one another to slander me. Now, you're still putting on an act? Bai Liqing. Zhong Yin took a deep breath, looked at Bai Liqing, and said, "Be it the 1,000-year redwood that I want or the frozen blood jade that Junior Brother Fang wants, they are both items that we have been searching for on the Exchange Plaza bounty board for some time. You don't usually sell them to us. Why are you selling 2 of them today? Be it 1,000-year redwood or frozen blood jade, they are not common items." As Zhong Yin spoke, he looked deeply at Bai Liqing. Right now, another Winter Valley disciple, Zhang Weiyuan, who was standing at the side, roughly understood what had happened through the conversation between the two of them. He immediately looked at Bai Liqing and asked, "Brother Bai Liqing, the fortune you mentioned today was because you sold the 1,000-year redwood and the frozen blood jade to Zhong Yin and Fang Baiwei of the Summer Valley?" This morning, Bai Liqing had suddenly looked for him, saying that he wanted to borrow 20 high-quality spirit stones and that he would return them on the same day. At that time, he had subconsciously thought that Bai Liqing would either borrow his spirit stones to gamble or borrow his spirit stones to buy some items and resell them to make a profit. Bai Liqing rarely gambled, so he was more inclined to believe the latter. Now that the Summer Valley disciple, Zhong Yin, had come looking for him, he knew that he had guessed correctly. Yes. Upon hearing Zhang Weiyuan's question, Bai Liqing immediately responded, "Your frozen blood jade and 1,000-year redwood were both bought from someone else." Zhang Weiyuan asked again. "Yes." Bai Liqing replied again. Who would be so foolish as to not directly sell these 2 items to Zhong Yin and Fang Baiwei? Selling them to them would have earned more than selling them to someone else. Zhang Weiyuan frowned and said, "Furthermore, the 2 of them have been wanting these 2 items for a long time. In fact, the Exchange Plaza's bounty board is still searching for them." Brother Zhang, that junior brother, probably did not look at the bounty board, so he did not know that there were people in the Summer Valley who wanted these 2 items. Bai Liqing voiced out his opinion. But the problem now is, Zhong Yin and Fang Baiwei both said that these 2 items were fake. Zhang Weiyuan continued, "Brother Zhang." Bai Liqing's expression became a little ugly. "Even you don't believe what I said? I was not the only one who confirmed that these 2 items were real. Zhong Yin and Fang Baiwei also personally checked the goods and confirmed that there were no mistakes before giving me the spirit stones. Brother Bai Liqing, I naturally believe what you said. I just feel that these 2 incidents are too coincidental." Zhang Weiyuan shook his head as he looked at Zhong Yin. "Zhong Yin, don't joke around. Are you sure that you and Fang Baiwei did not collude to take back the spirit stones that you gave to Brother Bai Liqing?" As he spoke, Zhang Weiyuan's gaze was extremely unfriendly. Although they were both late Dharma adepts, he did not fear Zhong Yin at all. In fact, during the previous 4 Valleys martial arts competition, he had even defeated Zhong Yin within 10 moves. Zhang Weiyuan, it was not me who said that the 1,000-year redwood was fake. Zhong Yin sighed and said, "It was my teacher who said that the 1,000-year redwood was fake. I wanted the 1,000-year redwood because I wanted my teacher to help me forge an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon that was most suitable for me. However, the moment his 5 adoration fire touched the 1,000-year redwood, the 1,000-year redwood turned into ashes. When the 1,000-year redwood first came in my hands, even my teacher could not tell that there was anything wrong with it." As Zhong Yin said this, he looked at Bai Liqing with an unfriendly gaze. "You saw the 1,000-year redwood turn into ashes with your own eyes?" Bai Liqing asked with a cold smile. "When my teacher forged weapons, He did not like people to disturb him. What do you mean by that? Could it be that you think that my teacher took the 1,000-year red wood for himself and lied to me? Zhong-yin asked in a low voice. Who knows? Bai Liqing laughed mockingly. Bai Liqing, there are some things that you should not say, lest you get into trouble. Zhong-yin looked at Bai Liqing coldly. If my teacher wanted the 1,000-year redwood, he only needed to say the word, and I would give it to him. There is no need for such an excuse. If you don't believe me, I can ask him to come to the Winter Valley and confront you. Zhong-yin's voice became even colder. Brother Bai Liqing, your words are a little too much. At this time, Zhang Weiyuan stood up and said, Elder Kuliang is a primordial soul adept. Why would he covet his own disciples' 1,000-year redwood? The 1,000-year redwood may be precious to us, but to Elder Kuliang, it is nothing. In fact, with his current level of practice, he basically has no use for 1,000-year redwood. Kuliang was Zhong Yin's teacher, an inner elder of the Lightning Sword sect, and also an elder of the Summer Valley. Brother Zhang, I was just joking. When Bai Liqing heard that Zhong Yin wanted to call his teacher over, he was already a little afraid. Now that Zhang Weiyuan had stepped up to give him a way out, he hurriedly responded with an awkward smile. Zhong Yin, did you hear that? Brother Bai Liqing, I was just joking with you. Zhang Weiyuan looked at Zhong Yin and said, Also, no matter if it was you or Feng Baiwei, since the transaction between you and him has been settled, there is no point in continuing to pursue it. Don't tell me you don't know the rules of the sect. If we really blow things up, it would not be good for you. Even your teacher, Elder Kuliang, cannot ignore the rules of the sect. Zhang Weiyuan said. Of course I know that. Zhong Yin said in a low voice. Since the transaction has been settled, even if I bought a fake, I will accept it. I came here this time to ask Bai Liqing for an explanation. I want to ask him why he sold me a fake. Of course, I also thought that perhaps Bai Liqing himself did not recognize that the 1,000-year redwood he sold me was a fake. Just now, I heard him say that he bought the 1,000-year redwood from someone else today. It seems like my guess is not far off. At this point, Zhong Yin looked at Bai Liqing with a burning gaze. Bai Liqing, I did not intend to ask for the 80 high-grade spirit stones back. But you have to tell me, who sold you the 1,000-year redwood? Zhong Yin asked in a low voice. After all, he had been indirectly cheated by the person who sold the 1,000-year redwood to Bai Liqing. If it was only the 1,000-year redwood that he bought, he might have thought that it was just a coincidence. Perhaps the person who sold the 1,000-year redwood to Bai Liqing did not know that the 1,000-year redwood was a fake. However, Bai Liqing had told him, the frozen blood jade that Feng Baiwei, who was also a disciple of the Summer Valley, had bought from Bai Liqing was also a fake. Furthermore, both the 1,000-year redwood and the frozen blood jade were made by the same person. He could not help but let his imagination run wild. Was that person trying to mess with him and Feng Baiwei? What did he have in common with Feng Baiwei? They were both disciples of the Summer Valley. Of course, even so, Zhong Yin was more inclined to think that all of this was just a coincidence. Otherwise, it would be really hard to imagine. What kind of person could take out the fake frozen blood jade and the 1,000-year red wood at the same time? Of course, whether it was a coincidence or not, he wanted to verify it further. Just as Zhong Yin was about to ask Bai Liqing who had sold him the 1,000-year redwood, a voice came from afar and stopped near Zhang Weiyuan and Bai Liqing. Senior Brother Zhang, Senior Brother Bai Liqing, you're both here? What happened at the trade center? Do you know? The person who had come was a young disciple of the Winter Valley. What happened? Zhang Weiyuan asked subconsciously. On the bounty list at the trade center, there were more than 10 items that the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley had put up for. 9 of them were removed from the list today. The young disciple of the Winter Valley sighed and said, in just one day, 9 of the Summer Valley's disciples managed to buy the items that they had put up for a long time. The luck of the people of the Summer Valley is so good that it makes one envious. Almost as soon as this disciple of the Winter Valley finished speaking, Zhong Yin's expression changed completely. At the same time, he subconsciously looked at Bai Liqing. Don't look at me, Bai Liqing replied subconsciously. I only sold 2 items from the bounty list to you and Feng Baiwei. I did not sell the other items. Now, Even Bai Liqing felt that this matter was not normal. End of this chapter. Chapter 231. This night, for the people of the Summer Valley, was destined to be a sensational night. This was because the 9 people of the Summer Valley had excitedly bought the items on the bounty list, only to discover that the items were all fake. Without exception, they were all fakes. Among the 9 people, if only 1 or 2 of them had bought fakes, it might have been a coincidence. But now, everyone had bought fakes. When I first heard about this from the Trade Center, I thought that the people of the Summer Valley were lucky to have bought all 9 items on the same day. I never thought that they would all be fakes. Why do I feel that this is a little strange? This is not normal. This is not normal at all. As the news of the 9 people who had placed a bounty on the bounty board in the trading plaza, buying fake goods spread, the entire Summer Valley was in an uproar. Of the 9 people who had bought fakes, 7 were Summer Valley disciples, and 2 were Summer Valley elders. While the Summer Valley was in an uproar, the 9 people who had bought fakes also gathered together. 5 old men and 4 middle-aged men. 2 of the old men were Summer Valley elders, both mid-primordial soul adepts. As for the other 7, they were all Summer Valley disciples. Zhong Yin was among them. My 2 uncles, as well as my brothers and sisters. This matter, we can basically confirm that someone deliberately tricked the people of the Summer Valley. Zhong Yin said to the other 8 people with a gloomy expression. Cut the crap, one of the Summer Valley elders said with a dark expression. One of the Summer Valley elders said with a sullen face. As long as you are not stupid, you will be able to tell. That's right. Another Summer Valley elder said, the most important thing now is to find out who is tricking us. If we find him, I will skin him alive. 100 high-quality spirit stones is a small matter, but losing face is a big deal. I, Li Dahu, am an intersect elder of the Lightning Sword sect and a mid-primordial soul adept. How could I be so blind as to buy fakes? If news of this spreads, where will my face go? As this Summer Valley elder spoke, his eyes seemed to be spitting fire. Elders, the fake goods that Junior Brother Fong and I bought came from Bai Liqing, a disciple of the Winter Valley. However, I have now confirmed that Bai Liqing also bought those 2 items from someone else. Faced with the 2 elders of the Summer Valley who were speaking in an unfriendly tone, a look of displeasure flashed across the depths of Zhong Yin's eyes. However, he still maintained a forced smile on his face. What we need to do now is to see if the fake goods in your hands were also made by that person. Just as Zhong Yin finished speaking, Fong Baiwei also chimed in, Senior Brother Zhong is right. Tonight, we will investigate thoroughly and see if the weapons that the 9 of us bought were made by the same person. If so, he's dead for sure. This night was destined to be a sleepless night for Zhong Yin and the others. Although the items in the hands of the other 7 people had only been bought from 5 people. One of the 5 people was the only son of the Spring Valley head, and he was a famous spoiled brat in the Lightning Sword sect. Unless he took the initiative to go out, no one would dare to disturb his sleep and cultivation. Let's wait. Outside the courtyard where the son of the Spring Valley head lived, Zhong Yin and the others waited patiently. It was not until late the next day that they heard the sound of the door opening. Creak. After the door to the room in the courtyard was opened, a young man dressed in a brocade robe walked out, stretching and yawning. The young man looked to be in his early 20s. He had sharp eyebrows, bright eyes, a fine nose, and red lips. His handsome features carried a hint of gentleness. If he were to change into female clothes, people would probably think that he was a beauty, and he was the only son of the Spring Valley head, Lu Lang. Junior Brother Lu, you've finally come out. Seeing Lu Lang come out, Fong Baiwei heaved a sigh of relief and greeted him. Lu Lang raised his head and saw the 9 people standing in the air outside the courtyard. People of the Summer Valley? What are they doing here? Lu Lang immediately saw that among the 9 people of the Summer Valley, one of them was the elder of the Summer Valley who had bought something from him the day before. It was also that item that had allowed him to easily earn 130 high-quality spirit stones. What did you call me? Lu Lang flew into the air and looked at Fong Baiwei, who had just called out to him. Junior Brother Lu. Fong Baiwei's face was full of smiles. Although the person in front of him was only a primal core adept, he had a good father. The Spring Valley head was the head of the 4 valley heads and also the strongest of the 4 valleys. And the person in front of him was the only son of the Spring Valley head. Not just in the 4 valleys, but even in the entire Lightning Sword sect. Not many people dared to offend him. "Is junior brother Lu something you can call me?" Lu Lang glared at him and asked coldly, "Do you think that you are worthy of calling me junior brother?" Fong Baiwei's expression changed, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Only now did he remember that this spoiled brat in front of him did not like to hear inner sect disciples call him junior brother. In his eyes, only the core disciples of a Lightning Peak had the right to call him junior brother. Furthermore, even among the core disciples of the Lightning Peak, not everyone could be called senior brother or senior sister. "Young Master Lu, I'm sorry. Fong Baiwei apologized profusely. Lu Lang glanced disdainfully at the bowing Fong Baiwei, then looked at the other 8 people. "You people of the Summer Valley have come looking for me early in the morning. If there's nothing important, don't disturb me when I'm out for a walk. Who knows, maybe my luck today will be as good as yesterday. Just by walking around, I'll see some idiots selling items on the bounty list." As Lu Lang spoke, he looked at the few people from the Summer Valley with an impatient gaze. Hearing Lu Lang's words, the 9 people of the Summer Valley looked at each other and saw the realization in each other's eyes. "Young Master Lu." One of the elders of the Summer Valley went straight to the point and opened up a portrait in his hands. "Yesterday, did you sell that item to me by this person?" If Zhou Dongwang was here, he would definitely be able to recognize him in the portrait. However, the portrait was much worse than the one that Freezing Wind had drawn for his sister, Yin Lu. Hearing this, Lu Lang glanced at the portrait and could not help but laugh. It's quite similar, but there's no charm to it. That fool, on the surface, looks much more impressive than this young master. "Why? You came looking for me early in the morning just to find out about this person? Don't tell me you're thinking of buying other items on the bounty list from him?" Lu Lang subconsciously thought so. No, the expression of the Summer Valley elder, who was holding onto the portrait, darkened. Then, he thanked Lu Lang profusely. "Thank you, young Master Lu. Now, we can confirm that the person who sold you the fake goods and then sold them back to us was this person." As the Summer Valley elder finished speaking, the other disciples of the Summer Valley shouted angrily, "This disciple of the Autumn Valley is unforgivable. Just to help that idiot de Zhuang of the Autumn Valley. He dared to do such a thing to the Summer Valley? Damn it. Let's go. Let's get even with him." The group of people of the Summer Valley shouted angrily and turned to leave the Spring Valley for the Autumn Valley. "What's going on? The idiot in the portrait is an Autumn Valley disciple. And let's be clear, what do you mean we sold you the fake item?" The words of the group of people of the Summer Valley had completely piqued Lu Lang's curiosity. Lu Lang followed them and asked curiously. Since Lu Lang had asked, the people of the Summer Valley naturally did not dare to not tell him. When Lu Lang found out what had happened, he was completely stunned. The item he sold me yesterday was actually fake? Furthermore, he bought 8 other fake items for the others and then used us to sell them to these 9 people of the Summer Valley? And I thought he was an idiot who did not even look at the bounty list in the trade center. Now, it seems that not only is he not an idiot, he even used me. Interesting. After regaining his composure, Lu Lang's eyes lit up. He's just a new disciple of the Lightning Sword sect in the Autumn Valley. Just to help that idiot of the Autumn Valley, he actually dared to cheat the people of the Summer Valley? Impressive. His name is Zhou Dongwang. Very quickly, Lu Lang followed the 9 people of the Summer Valley to the Autumn Valley. After asking a disciple of the Autumn Valley where Zhou Dongwang lived, the people of the Summer Valley headed towards the mountainside where Zhou Dongwang lived. However, just as they neared Zhou Dongwang's courtyard, they saw an Autumn Valley disciple sitting cross-legged in midair. As they neared, the Autumn Valley disciple opened his eyes and looked at them from afar. "Are you here to look for Brother Zhou? Tell Zhou Dongwang to come out," Fong Baiwei said with a dark expression. "Brother Zhou asked me to tell you. If you are in a hurry to find him, you can go to the trade center." This Autumn Valley disciple was none other than Huang Long, who had brought Zhou Dongwang to He Mengshi when he had first arrived at the Autumn Valley. Huanglong had also heard the news from the Summer Valley that morning. The 9 people of the Summer Valley had all bought fake items the day before. His first thought was that someone had purposely used fake items to cheat the 9 people of the Summer Valley. Thus, he had specially come to look for De Zhuang and asked him if he knew who had done it. De Zhuang, who had already found out the truth the night before, had also told Huang Long the truth. It's him. At that time, only Huang Long knew how shocked he had been. That new disciple, who had not even reached the Dharma stage, actually had such a trick up his sleeve? Brother Zhou is indeed a genius to have guessed that they would come. Now, I will go and join in the fun as well. As the 9 people of the Summer Valley turned and left with dark expressions, heading towards the trade center, Huang Long followed them. I remember you. I think your name is Huang Hu? Lu Lang slowed down and walked alongside Huang Long. As he followed behind the 9 people of the Summer Valley, he asked Huang Long. Even though he knew that Lu Lang was not someone to be trifled with, Huang Long's face still darkened. Young Master Lu, I am not Huang Hu, I am Huang Long. Into this chapter,